How's it going, everybody? I am Donut. This is Spider-Man Homecoming. This is also a Black Lives Matter, all cops are bastards, and trans rights supporting channel. If you're not supporting that shit, then you can get the right fuck out of here. This is Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't know shit about this, as always, but I feel like I know a little bit more about Spider-Man than I do about any of the other MCU movies that I have done. So, what do I think is going to happen in this movie? It's called Homecoming, which I have absolutely zero idea as to what that could mean. Because my thought process for everything up until Civil War was it was going to be Spider-Man has been around for a while but has not been in New York for some reason and is now coming back to New York. That's what I thought we were going to do. I thought we were not going to do like the whole origin story, which we haven't done. Maybe we'll touch on it in this one. I mean, we'll touch on it, but I don't think we're going to start with the origin. You know, we might like talk about it, but we're not gonna like, we might even see some of it, but I don't think we're gonna start with it. So yeah, I don't, if my original guess was that he was coming home, coming back to New York for some reason, but if that's not it, what is Homecoming? Maybe it could just be literally the homecoming dance, and like it's just that simple. It's about like something's gonna go down at his homecoming dance. Could be that simple. Didn't even think about that till just now, but that might be my primary guess. As far as like villains or anything, you know, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do. I doubt they're gonna do a lot of like these super classic villains. So, are they going to do a villain that I've never seen before? Which I'm not that familiar with Spider-Man stuff. I have seen, I think, the first two Spider-Man Raimi movies. I don't even think I've seen the third one. And then I know there's another Spider-Man trilogy. Haven't seen that one either. So, yeah, I've played a little bit of the game. I played, yeah, I don't want to get too much in spoilers for the game, but I didn't even complete the game. I played like halfway maybe. So, yeah, I'm not going to be super familiar. The only thing I would really guess is like, they're going to do Kingpin. It seems like they always start with Kingpin. But we've already done Kingpin in other shows and everything, so it's not like we can do Kingpin again. Maybe they would do Doc Ock. I don't think they're going to do Green Goblin. So my guess is Doc Ock. If it's going to be a villain that I know, I guess I'm going to guess Doc Ock. Is the only thing I can think of. Maybe like a Martin Lee character. I don't even know if he's in the comics at all or anything. So I don't know. That's as far as my guesses go. It's a whole lot of nothing. It's a whole lot of rambling, but that's all I got. If you want to see my reaction, check it out in the description below. It's the full length for free for everybody. If you enjoy it, consider getting full length for the Patreon for some TV shows and stuff. Like, you know, it's like this where it's picture in picture, no syncing up required. You don't need to download it on your end. Just go check it out. You can watch it. That's how all my shit is. Go check out my Patreon. Get on it. Okay, how is it going, everybody? We're here for the discussion now. Where do we even start? I mean, this was, I think, the best MCU movie thus far. Easily, hands down.
I'm really happy to hear that.
Yes. I think it has a little bit of a different writing style than the rest, but I don't think it has, like, I think you were trying to say, like, you know, the difference between it being like a Sony movie first and a like Marvel Studios movie second, rather than like an MCU movie second.
Mm-hmm.
But like it still has a little bit of that like MCU writing to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is different. I can see the differences in it, but I can't see as much the differences in it as I can between like the MCU and Guardians of the Galaxy, or like the MCU and Inhumans. You know?
Okay, fair enough. And yeah, like, due to the way the contract on this one works, it is like Sony has final say on everything. Okay. And it is like, you know, Sony's vision of what they want to do, but like the big MCU execs do get to say like, hey, you can't have Iron Man do that, or you can't do X or Y. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think one of the big parts that makes it like something that Sony does in this movie that most of the MCU movies don't do is the very interconnected universe.
Oh yeah, extremely interconnected.
And I think that is because, like, in normal MCU movies, there is this confidence of, like, we don't have to tell you that this is happening. We don't have to show you Iron Man. Like, you know it's all the same universe. So we're just going to build this one little part here and, like, reference one or two things.
I don't know if it's that. I would say it's the exact opposite of that.
Okay.
Is that they don't trust people to remember if they bring it up. I mean, the amount of people that went to go watch Endgame without having seen any of the prior movies.
Right.
Like, they know, like, they are appealing to those people, whereas Sony, with this movie, is definitely appealing to MCU, like, audiences.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Sony is confident in knowing that, like, people are gonna go see an Endgame movie. Like, this is all before that happened, but, you know, people are comfortable going to watch Endgame without having watched any of the previous movies. You don't need to appeal to them. You don't need to be like, well, let's not try and make this too confused. Like, they're just gonna watch it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, they really don't care. So just do this, have it be super interconnected. People are gonna be like, I don't know what they keep talking about, bringing up this and that and that. I don't get it, but whatever. The movie's good.
Yeah.
You know, they're good. So many people are like that, you know? They're not going to care. They're just going to be like, oh, the base movie was good. I don't care about all the other stuff.
But yeah, like, this movie really feels like if you don't have a lot of toys, and then you go to your rich friend's house, and they have a ton of toys in their toy box, and you're like, I want to use all of them.
Yeah.
That, and also, like, you probably noticed, but Captain America in those, like, little mini things, that is Chris Evans. And the way the contracts work, they do have a set number of movies they do. So Sony did say, we're going to use up one of Chris Evans'...
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. I was like, why is that weird? But, oh, yeah.
Yeah, same with Robert Downey Jr. They're like, he's going to be a big part of this movie.
Yeah, fair.
Which means, like, there's another movie in the MCU that doesn't get to have that actor in it. Or they have to, renegotiate for that one.
Yeah. I'm sure it'd be easier for Robert Downey than it would for, like, Chris Evans. I don't know. Like... Yeah. Robert Downey's so... I want to be in it, you know? That I'm sure he would do it regardless. Or not regardless, you know what I mean? It'd be pretty easy. We'd have to pay him a lot of money, but...
Yeah, and they did also film all of Robert Downey's scenes in 3 days.
God damn.
Which is also, like, it's why part of it's, like, him in India. Why, like, a lot of it is him, like, standing on a rooftop or in the big Avengers building.
Yeah, actually, there's not a lot that... Yeah, it must be pretty easy to shoot most of those scenes. There's not a lot of... With him being in the suit, yeah, you don't need to shoot with him that much.
Yeah, and you still get his presence throughout the movie.
Yeah. So, I think this was also extremely hilarious movie. Mm-hmm. Most of the comedy in this was so much different than the MCU.
Yeah.
I think that is the biggest thing. Like, Guardians had really good comedy as well. But it's also the MCU comedy still.
Okay.
But it's just MCU comedy to its peak. And then, like, it is trying to emulate Jaws' comedy, I think, a little bit. Whereas this felt way more like, an actual, like it is that, like, I guess Sony, I don't watch enough movies to know, but that feeling of going to watch a movie that is definitely not rated very highly at all. I'm sure this is rated pretty much for everybody. And then, not really for everybody,
sure.
Preteen, whatever. But yeah, but it still gets away with, like, having jokes that are smart, not feeling like the jokes are making sure that everybody is going to get the joke or something, or, like, making sure that the joke has, like, a comedic noise behind it.
Yeah.
Or, like, really focus on it. There's a lot of just do joke, move on immediately that I appreciate.
As they're working on this movie, both the, like, writers, the director, and, like, most of the actors, including, like, the kids, watched a lot of, like, Breakfast at Tiffany's, like, a lot of those, like, classic teen movies.
Yeah.
And a lot of those have that same vibe.
Yeah, interesting. I would say that because, like, what I actually appreciate about this movie is that, all of New York feels as diverse as New York is.
Yeah.
I mean, and not just New York, but, like, it doesn't feel like so much movies feel like they're taking place in, like, the early 2000s, the 90s or whatever.
Yeah, it is the classic cartoon problem of, this is a cartoon coming out in the 2000s, but all the references are, like, all the thing that the kids are doing are things from, like, the 80s, unless there's, like, a cell phone.
Yeah. I mean, also just a row of white kids, and having, like, no diversity in the class at all.
They made a really conscious choice with the casting of the school to, like, not specifically just have it diverse, but to reflect the diversity in a, like, random New York school.
Yeah. And it really helps be able to, like, care about these characters and make them stand out as individual characters as opposed to just being, like, I feel like when a character is white, it's so much easier to just be like, they're this trope.
Yeah.
It is so much easier to write them off because that's what most writers do.
Yeah.
They just are able to just go like, I'll just do this trope.
But yeah, like, if you go over the movie again and you pay attention, like, mostly to the kids that are on the field trip, like, you can figure out what their deal is, like, especially in their interviews afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, they all have a personality, even if you don't get to see a whole lot of it. So,
Yeah, and I'm glad they didn't like try to focus on all of them equally or anything. Like they're not like, oh, we got to give all of them a moment, you know?
Yeah.
Like it was like, no, we don't need to, you know. Well, it's really like you have, of course, Peter, MJ, who was like, that was like, oh, okay, I guess this is MJ at the very end.
Yeah.
But and even though it was a lot less than the others.
Yeah.
What was the main girl's name?
She was, oh boy. Liz.
Liz, right. So yeah, Peter, Liz, and Ned, and Flash. Those four, I would say, are like the ones that get the most focus.
Yeah.
You know, I just said her name. MJ gets a couple like jokes, but there's not like focus there. You know.
Yeah, she's usually like the punchline.
Yeah.
Like she gets a little focus moments.
Yeah. I'm not sure that I would say the punchline. Well, yeah, I guess like, yeah, not she is the punchline, but she delivers the punchline a lot of times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate what they did with Flash. Like I'm familiar with Flash to a small degree.
Yeah.
You know. Do you know, was Ned supposed to be Kong or?
He wasn't.
Okay.
So Ned is based mostly on like a character from Miles Morales' Spider-Man run.
Okay. Okay.
His name is from a character who works at the Daily Bugle with Peter. But like his design and his nerdiness and like wanting to be the guy in the chair, like that is all this other character.
Okay.
So they kind of did like a transposition there.
It also reminds me a lot of the guy in the chair in Kim Possible. Like specifically that guy.
I could see that, yeah.
It's very like wanting to be in that role, having a lot of fun with it, especially with like spinning around the like school aspect of it and all that. Reminding me a hell of a lot of that.
I really like his vibe as, like, he doesn't have hero lust. Like, he doesn't want to be the hero. His thing is, like, he thinks heroes are really cool. He thinks Spider-Man is really cool.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to be in the fight. And I think that's also what makes it so surprising when he uses the web shooter near the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't expect him to be there.
Yeah, like, the most he has is, like, can I get bitten by the spider too?
Yeah.
Or, like, I feel like most people would say that.
Yeah.
And even then he's like, I don't know, if it's too painful, I might not want to do it.
For Flash, they were going, like, typical Flash is footballer, for a football bully.
Yeah, he's like football bully, he's like super macho, arrogant, you know, sort of dude. And I like that instead they just sort of, I don't know if he's like, is he like super rich in the comics?
He's a little rich, but he's not this rich.
Yeah, like, I like that I know him as like the super jock, you know, thing, but I like that they went with a more like effeminate rich kid.
Yeah, and in the MCU, Midtown is supposed to be like, you can tell vaguely, it's supposed to be like a school for not gifted people, but like, it's an academic focused school.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Oh yeah, it's like, seems like it'd be very hard to get into.
Yeah.
It's like a private school?
It's one of those schools where where they like do a lottery.
What?
You don't know about this?
No.
So there are public schools in the U.S., especially in like very built-up areas.
Yeah.
Where there's so much like people really want to get in. So you either have to have like, if it's a high school, I think you can get in if you have like really good grades and you transfer in. But otherwise, they do a lottery, and your parents enroll you, and then they just choose a random sampling to make it fair.
Okay.
And then everyone else goes to another public school in the district.
Never heard of that. No.
Yeah.
First time I ever heard of that.
But yeah, so it's one of those where it's not like a private school, but it is like, a very academic focused school. And that's why like Flash has to be an academic person as well to be here. He can't just be like a big tough guy.
Yeah. Which makes sense, you know? Like, I didn't really think about that until like halfway through the movie. Like, it just felt like normal high school for a bit, and then I was like, oh, okay, so yeah, they all are. I mean, like, Flash is the lowest out of all of them, but he has to have some level degree, or he might have bought his way in, maybe. But he's on the decathlon team, so it's like he cares about that at least, and he is the very like, like the I'll take my trophy first before me, that kind of aspect of him too, which is very funny.
Yeah, I mean, this does suck, but his actor was the only one I know of who got death threats because people didn't like his portrayal of Flash. It was specifically because, like, he is so often the butt of the joke, and also because he's brown.
I mean, well, the butt of the joke thing, like, that's why I like him.
Yeah. Like, they made a very conscious decision, like, usually Flash would be the butt of the joke, like, once or twice.
Yeah.
But they made a point of having him be constantly around, and, like, he's just like, it makes sense why he's at the school a little bit, but at the same time, it is like man, you are the worst in this group of very smart kids.
Yeah. But I mean, I like that. I think to have, like, the asshole character like that, you have to have them constantly being humbled. Yeah.
Like,
in Community, the character Pierce,
Yeah.
it works so well. A lot of people love the character Pierce because, they are constantly being, pushed down, constantly
Yeah.
being belittled to, like, be put in their place. Like, you can be an awful person as long as that character can put up with the amount of shit that they're
Yeah.
gonna have to take for it.
And plus, like, Flash is a fun character. I mean that, like, in universe. Like, I understand why Liz would be like, hey, you can come to my party and be the DJ.
Yeah, like, I've known plenty of people like that. Like, I mean, not like that cartoonishly.
Of course.
But, like, where it is like, they're awful, and as long as you continue to let them know that they're awful, then there's so many friends where, you can legitimately say to their face, you are a piece of shit, and you need to know that, but you are entertaining.
Yeah. Like, that's his niche.
Yeah. Like, there's good in you,
Yeah.
He likes heroes too, he's not like a bad guy. Like, he is a bully, but he's not like, just calling him Penis Parker. It's the lamest kind of, it's like yeah,
It's also
whatever.
his one joke.
Yeah. I think that's why it's very like, he's overly acceptable. He's like, yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
If they're gonna keep, making fun of him, it's fine.
The karma balances out.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. The karma is perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say. Oh, just that I love that him and Ned specifically kept doing the thing in the movie of sir.
Yeah.
Like, oh yes, sir, okay, sir. I love it so much. Especially with Flash, like his voice, like he was like making his voice so much more high pitched. Like, oh yes, sir, yes, okay, sir.
I love how the movie plays around with the fact that Spider-Man is one of the only heroes we've seen thus far that is, like, completely unknown and is also very public.
Yeah.
So, like, people don't know how to handle him. And you have a bunch of different people who are all like, are you a girl? Or, hey, do a backflip. Yeah. Like, it's so much less, like, personal. It's not like this guy. It is, like, that masked person.
Yeah, because almost every other one, they know. They might not know their real identity or something, but they have, like, they know a face at least.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing.
Either they know the face, or they're just, like, not known like Doctor Strange. Like, no one's interacting with him so far.
Yeah. I mean, and even if they did, they would know his face.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay, where do we go from there?
I did want to say, I like Liz as a character, and as you said, I do think it is, like, it's a nice mid-ground of, she's not his girlfriend. Like, they're kind of boyfriend-girlfriend when they go to Homecoming, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I think that hits a nice middle ground of...
And that was kind of more like just her being like, yeah, I'll give you a shot.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, you did exactly the thing that I was hesitant that you were going to do.
Yeah. Like, she doesn't feel weird for, like, saying, yeah, sure. It makes sense.
Yeah. You get it. And I like that, yeah, she is very, like, I don't know if she'll be returning or anything, but I think, yeah, her role was very well as it was in this, without also being, like, too damsel in distressy or anything.
Yeah.
And thank God they did not do the fucking Spider-Man kiss.
Oh, yeah. A lot of, like, not a lot of the movie, but the movie does do a couple of goofs that are very much a, like, you remember that other movie? Let's not. Yeah. Like, especially the part where Spider-Man's, like, on the rooftop and he's right next to the American flag. Like, that is a classic original Spider-Man scene that they did explicitly because there was, like, we really want Spider-Man to be in front of this flag.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the plot.
I remember.
Yeah. But yeah, I really appreciate that Liz is not dating Peter at the start of the movie. Because I think that would add a layer of, like, Peter's, like, kind of shitty for neglecting his girlfriend. Like, a lot of movies do that, where it is, like, the hero has to do hero stuff, and they are dating someone, but we see so little of that, or every time it's always flaking.
Yeah.
Whereas with Liz, like, it's so unofficial. He's kind of likes her for most of the movie. So there isn't the sense of, man, Peter's such a bad boyfriend.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on in, like, most of Spider-Man that I know of.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I'm glad that they got away with not doing that, and... Also, like, there wasn't too much of, like he flaked out on Ned, he flaked out on the swimming thing, but, like, that's about it. Like, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah, and I do think you need some flaking in a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. Like,
the classic Spider-Man problem is there are two things he really wants to do. There are two things that are, like, unbelievably important. Like, someone's gonna die over there, also Aunt May needs medication. And from those four things, Spidey has to pick one. I think that's also what makes a lot of the movie feel very fast.
Yeah.
Because there's, like, all this stuff that Peter has to do, and he always has to give up something. There are no
Yeah.
perfect solutions.
I do like that, yeah, because like you also need the moments where it's like at the like homecoming where it's like that one is you have to, it's not like I'm just gonna hang out with my friends now, like the swimming one, it's like it's not really like a time constraint thing. It is like there is a time constraint, but more of a like I'll go dip in, hang out, then leave or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, so you gotta have moments like that where it's like he could, but he's going to let like he wants, or his, I don't know, his sense of Spider-Man is overtaking that in that moment.
Like, I think another big Spider-Man thing is being able to look back in hindsight and saying, well, he could have done this much better. Like, there is an optimal path here, but he didn't do it because he's Peter.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing about the character in general.
Yeah.
Is not having it be the optimal solution, not having it be the big hero thing, having it always be a struggle.
Yeah.
When when Iron Man comes in to do something, it's always Iron Man doing something really cool, being like he's planned for this, sort of thing. Whereas, I like that. Not the case.
How do you feel about Peter having a very like techie suit in this movie?
I mean, I really like it because he is, is getting used to it for the first time. And also, they did a really amazing job of introducing all the, like, things that you were going to see reoccurring throughout the movie in a way that didn't feel like hey, we're going to do all these Spider-Man references.
Yeah.
Because it was him, Spider-Man, saying, what is this?
Yeah.
And I think that helps a lot. So much other stuff would just be, he does a web thing, he does a web thing on the ground, it blows up into a bigger web, and then the audience is supposed to go, okay, he has web grenades, and then you can see him do that later in the movie, and they can do it more subtly and not have to, focus on it.
Yeah. Whereas
this, just having them be like, oh, cool, that's a web grenade, this is rapid fire, this is a taser stuff, It helps a little bit that I played the game, so I know about a lot of these already. But aside from that, it is, it's such a natural way to introduce the elements of the suit.
Yeah.
And again, in another MCU movie, let's say this was Iron Man for some reason, like Rhodey, he has to wear the Iron Man suit for some reason, and he's like, oh, what the fuck do all these systems do? I feel like in that situation they would have way more of he's doing it in the middle of a fight and it keeps accidentally working.
Right.
Like, whoops, taser, that's cool. And it, did work, Yeah. Whereas this was very, God damn it, that is not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we don't get a lot of that in the MCU. We get a lot of, that's not what I wanted to do, but it did work anyway.
Yeah.
So, I really like that about the suit.
Okay.
And, it's weird that he gives him the older suit and not the Avengers suit he was gonna give them. I don't know what the choice behind that is. I guess just as he'll get that upgrade later.
Yeah, or just that is the Avengers suit. If you're not an Avenger, you don't get to wear that suit.
Did it have an Avengers thing on it? I don't think so. Yeah. But so I don't know how I feel about him still having the suit, but I mean it's got so much in it that it's a little bit breaky, the ear thing is the main thing. I'm like, that feels like it's gonna be too OP to have in situations.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that people are conflicted about with the suit is Karen. How do you feel about Karen?
I hate Karen.
Yeah.
I hate Karen. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It feels too real. All the Jarvis and all, Jarvis is not a AI, right? He's not an Ultron, he has no actual sense of self, right?
I mean, he doesn't have a sense of self, but he was pretty developed. Not Ultron developed, but
But he would not be able to pass the what is that test? The I don't know, but the test to see if they're sentient.
Right.
I don't think Jarvis would have passed that.
I'm not.
He is just
sure.
a very advanced AI.
Right.
Whereas she feels sentient. She has feelings.
I kind of put them in the same category.
I don't. That is the main thing I didn't like about her.
Okay.
That it just felt too feelingsy. In a in a weird way. In a way that made me really uncomfortable.
Okay. See, I did take that as more of a Iron Man and Jarvis have this relationship of Jarvis is his digital butler. And so it is a lot of, like, I need this, I need that. Whereas Peter, like, the first couple of times he uses Karen, it is more conversational. He does, like, have a conversation with her.
Sure.
Which I think is why we hear more, like, conversational things come out of her.
I mean, like, Friday is like that, too. Friday is a little bit more conversational.
Yeah.
But not personality.
Okay.
I mean, like, there's personality, but there's not a... Like, I don't know, Karen just feels like it's alive.
Okay, it feels a little too human.
It does. It feels like I'm like, get it out of here, get it into a body. That is like the uncomfortableness of every scene.
Okay.
It's just like, it feels very like, get this thing into a body. But yeah, that's my only problem with it.
Okay. Yeah, like, I feel like Karen kind of takes away from some of the braininess of Peter. Like, this movie does do a good job of showing, like, how sciencey he is. Like, he does make his own web stuff. He does a lot of sciencey stuff, and a lot of, like, just clever stuff in general.
Yeah.
But it feels kind of cheating when he's like, okay, Karen, can you find me all the points I need to web on this ship? And also can you make it invisible so I can look at all of them?
Yeah. But to be fair, in, like, that is some comic bullshit. So you gotta have something like that to do. It's like, would I believe that Peter was able to do that? Sure. But does this make it more believable? Absolutely.
Okay, fair.
You know? But, yeah, it makes it a little bit too Iron Man-y also. Like, Peter being able to constantly have conversations with somebody else as opposed to himself is weird. I'm not sure if I like that. He's a very talk to himself person.
He is. Like, I think that is extremely Spider-Man. Like, and that's also why sometimes, you know, he is more conversational with his enemies and conversational with random people. Yeah. Because he is always talking to himself. He's like, oh god, okay, I can talk to this person.
They did a really good job also of doing the Peter talking with the villains, like the lower, villains, and like messing and joking with them without it being the cockiness of like the comics. Like, he wasn't cocky. Like, he plays with them a lot, and we're like, not plays with them, but I mean like jokes towards them and stuff.
Yeah.
But he isn't. I don't know. It's not cheesy. It feels natural. Yeah. And it is funny.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of Spider-Man is funny how the villains react to his cheesiness. Whereas this just felt like he is actually trying to be funny rather than trying to get under their skin.
Like, I do think this Spider-Man is definitely like, he's more childlike, and he's also more, like, awkward.
He's definitely way younger than I'm used to for a Peter.
Yeah. I believe his actor is, like, 18 in this movie, or maybe around older, but they were aiming for, like, 14.
Yeah.
Like, they really wanted a Peter that is, like, actually, like barely a high schooler.
Did we get his age in Civil War?
I think we did.
Because it's still like, hearing it again was just like, man, it sounds, Tony could not sound any more insane than saying, people thought I was crazy for bringing a 13, 14-year-old into a battle with the Avengers.
I do like the soft mention of, if Cap wanted to lay you out, he could have.
Yeah. Which, like, watching it, you don't like think about it, but like in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, he probably would have. Like,
yeah.
Cap is not the person who would have been fighting his all against Spider-Man. Like,
yeah. Like, it is categorically a scumbag move for Tony to be like, hey, I'm going to take this kid, I'm going to make you fight this kid, and if you kill him, that's on you.
Yeah.
Like, I do think this movie does a good job of layering in Tony's like moral badness, while at the same time like balancing that tightrope of he is likable, he is fun to see on screen, but he's also a bad person. He's the kind of person who does give a kid an instant kill mode.
Yeah, and that is the thing also, though, to be fair, of so much of the Iron Man recently and Tony recently has been very like, early on, he, his points are like, you are a bad person, but your points do have some like standing,
right?
And I think they got that again in this movie, which they haven't been for a long time. Iron Man has been very easy to be like, well, this is like fully wrong.
Yeah.
But now they're back to like because it's not big, world stuff. It's very, just very personal stuff about one kid, and so it's able to be more, you go like, okay, I don't I don't normally side with Tony, but I'm siding with Tony on this one. Like, yeah, you are just, and they did a good job of doing the like, the superheroes are saving the day, but also they're causing all this damage, and that's their fault too. And they did a good job of that, because most of the time it is the superheroes save the day and also do a lot of damage. Whereas this was a lot of Spider-Man just does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And he didn't manage to save the day.
Like, I think especially a lot of superhero movies want to get across, like, this person is really, really cool. So we're going to make them more competent than they would usually be in a situation like this, where they haven't like been properly trained or anything. Whereas with Spidey, it is very clear, like, he's been screwing around in New York. He fought the Avengers one time. He didn't know what he was doing. He's back in New York. He's still screwing around. He doesn't know what he's doing. Like, there is a lot of, like, he's not cut out for the big leagues, but at the same time, a big part of that is because he's not an Avenger. Like, he's not, like, one of the tier 2 Avengers that are training and that have the uniforms and stuff. Like, he is just swinging around New York and trying to do stuff.
Yeah, and it's fucking everything out constantly.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of... As I said, I'm pretty sure he did more damage in this movie than specifically the Hulk and Incredible Hulk. Okay. Maybe the Hulk in Ultron did more damage.
Probably.
But, I definitely think Hulk in Incredible Hulk did less damage than Spider-Man did.
Yeah, I might agree with that. Like, the biggest thing he did was the Battle of Harlem, which is 50% Abomination, and then he didn't, like, flatten all of Harlem.
No, most of that was the Abomination, like, Abomination wrecked a lot of shit before he even got there.
Yeah.
Because, like, once he gets there, most of Harlem's destroyed already.
Yeah. Hulk really destroys, like, a building or two and, like, some cars.
Yeah. Most of what he does in Harlem is just, like, his steps on the ground and stuff.
Right.
Or on buildings. But even, like, the building that Abomination throws him into was already destroyed, I'm pretty sure. Like, the church thing.
Okay.
I might be wrong about that, but either way.
Yeah. I think it's a strong point to make.
Yeah. And then again, it does sell his decision at the end to be like, I'm gonna be a low-level hero.
Yeah.
When I was, helping a lady cross the street, I wasn't destroying 18 fences Ferris Bueller style. But yeah, I am very excited to see another Spider-Man movie if they can commit to Spider-Man as a local-level hero. And to be fair, this wasn't like a big thing. Like, this was still pretty small scale as terms of the main villain.
Yeah.
And so I hope they can pull off something even smaller next time and make it interesting. I don't know if they would, and I'm not expecting them to, but it would be really cool if they could.
Okay.
Before the next Spider-Man movie is Infinity War, though, right?
Infinity War and Endgame.
Okay, they both are.
Yeah.
So
Far From Home is the last thing in Phase 3, yeah?
Okay. Right, there's only 2 so far. But yeah, so then I hope after all that, it's like a settle down, now we're doing something street level.
Okay.
Because obviously he's going to be called into the Avengers stuff and all that, of course. But yeah, after that, then I would want that movie to be a street level, It's called Far From Home?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's going to be like somewhere off in the, another country, I believe.
You don't think he's going to the Far From Home dance?
I don't think this is going to be a place farther than China.
Oh.
Which turns out to then be Chinatown.
Ah.
I will never get over that. But yeah, I guess that's my guess for Far From Home, is that it's going to be like in another country.
Makes sense.
They're going to be like, we're doing a decathlon international.
So, how do you feel about the main villain?
I love him. I could not tell you his name. I saw it in the credits. Can't tell you it again. It was like Adrian?
Adrian Toomes.
Adrian Toomes.
They mostly call him like Toomes or Boss.
Yeah.
Can you guess what his villain name is?
It was also in the credits. It was Vulcan, right?
It's Vulture.
Vulture. Why did I say Vulcan? Why was I thinking that? But yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, like he is a vulture. He takes things that are already destroyed and, does new stuff with them.
Yeah.
We got the parallel of, like, I would say the 2 opposing forces of the movie are Tony Stark and Adrian Toomes. Like,
yeah, sure.
And that you got, the very big, very rich guy who makes money, like, he made money by being a war person and arms dealer.
Yeah.
He now makes money from, like, big destruction. Then you have Adrian, who is like not as rich, but he's fairly wealthy. He's wealthier than all of his allies. He is also an arms dealer. He is also getting rich whenever something bad happens because he gets the wreckage.
Mm-hmm. Which by the way, I love that just in general. That was also the big thing with Union Allied and Daredevil and season 1 and everything. I love whenever they bring up the ramifications of these big movies, and the shows have been really good about that so far, about like showing what goes on in the shadows under these big ass events. And now I'm glad that the movies are actually finally touching on that shit.
Yeah.
It's just stuff that I have been wondering since Avengers. What happened with all the shit? Like, we know that S.H.I.E.L.D. cleaned it up, which is now certifiably not... All of S.H.I.E.L.D. has to be not canon at this point. Like, there's nothing from S.H.I.E.L.D. that really ties back into the movies in a way that needs to, specifically. Right. So, I kept saying, past season 3, no, man, season 1 of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't even canon anymore.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm glad.
Okay.
Thank fucking if I can appeal to Sony and all of the rest of the MCU, thank you so much for not making that shit canon. Oh, weight off of my shoulders.
Now this is legitimately, this is where I was like, oh man, you might really hate this movie, partially because it is like there's a lot of Iron Man in it, partially because it does fundamentally contradicts S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, this was back when you were like very, very into like season 2, season 1 S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the more you go into the movies, the more S.H.I.E.L.D. falls apart. Whereas like like the Netflix MCU isn't like explicitly contradicted by most of this stuff. Like, you can still say like, Spider-Man's in New York, but there's no reason why everyone else can't also be in New York doing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, New York's big.
Yeah. Plenty of places.
Yeah.
Especially when they're all in Hell's Kitchen and he's mainly in Queens.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff they're doing is also like very specific people or very like underground crime, where Spidey is kind of like swinging around. Like, this is the first like conspiracy thing he's fought.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if I have anything else to add to that, but just yes, agree.
Adrian's actor is Michael Keaton, who...
Okay, I've never heard that name before.
Very famous. The thing he's most famous
I was actually wow, I'm surprised they didn't get a really famous guy for this or anything.
I would say he is one of the most famous people in the movie.
Yeah, didn't recognize him. I mean, I have no idea who Michael Keaton is. I've heard the name.
I'd say he's... in comic book circles, he's most known for being Batman for the first two. Batman Returns.
Michael Keaton's Batman is, I think, the term I've heard.
Yeah, and I do think you can feel some of that in the way he plays Adrian. Like, he's very good at getting across that older, threatening energy.
Yeah.
I also just really like the duality of his character. Like, if you rewatch the movie, it is unbelievably obvious that he is Liz's father. Like, just in
throughout, on a rewatch, I as soon as it happened, I was like, oh my god, because I kept thinking, where are we building to this? Like, when are we gonna see this family?
Yeah,
And
I mean, there are plenty of movies where you just not see the family. It is just, this guy talks about his family all the time, but we never see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all the little things where it's like, the boss would freak out if he knew we were in the school because it's where his daughter goes.
Yeah, and I could tell 100% what they were doing with the directing, where he opens the door and you're like, that's Liz's father, and then you have this, wait, no, is he here to kill them or something? Yeah. I think that's what some people would probably think, and then they show the mother come out, and it's like, okay, that's why the daughter is not white.
Yeah, and we do see Liz's mother once or twice in the movie, especially after the whole DC incidents.
Okay.
But we never see her father. It is always just her mom comes out and goes oh, sweetie, how are you? Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, it's something I wouldn't even notice,
Yeah.
It's just so natural. It's just
one parent is so unbelievably natural in most fiction.
Yeah.
If someone has parents, you're seeing one of them.
I mean, not even that, but just I wouldn't even notice that her parent as in noted to have noted that as in anything.
Yeah.
It's just of course they would. It'd be, yeah. It's we got away with that twist so well. It was so good. God damn.
It knocked my socks off when it happens.
It's so good. I can't get over it.
Because, it also builds into this primal fear, I think, of like going to prom or going to this thing, and you're having your first dates, and your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever's dad is the most scary thing in the world. And in this case, he is 100% the scariest thing in the world.
And the fact that he goes from like so intimidating, so super scary, to then realizing it, and then he can't help but have to like, you know, like he was being a total dad, and then he like has to ham it up because like he's not that good at putting the face on either. Like he's just like so casual, like, oh yeah. gotta give him the dad talk. It's like so over the top.
Like you can see why he keeps business and home so separate, because if they come together, he can't hide it.
Yeah, he's so bad at it.
God, I love when they're parked at the red lights, and when it's the red light, his face is a little red, and his eyes are like not glowing red, but they're like two little dots there.
Yeah.
And then when it goes green, it is like.
I mean, and Spider-Man is green. Spider-Man is red. He is green.
Yeah.
So it is like the, you know, him realizing it's Spider-Man and then him deciding he's gonna probably have to kill him.
Yeah. By the way, the Vulture is like a very famous Spider-Man villain. Like he's one of the first 3 or 4, I'd say.
Okay.
Like, he's been around from the start.
Damn.
And he's always kind of an outlier because he is like in the comics he's just a really old man who lost a lot of his he used to be an inventor when he was younger. Now he's old. Someone screwed him out of most of his inventions and stuff, and now he has to commit crime for revenge, or like to like even just survive.
Yeah.
He does a lot of like living on the outskirts.
Okay. Was he in any other movies?
No.
Okay.
When they were choosing the villain for this movie, both Sony and Marvel Studios said, you can do whatever you want. Like, feel free. If you want to do Doc Ock again, you want to do Green Goblin again, feel free. But almost every single script they got was for Vulture.
Wow.
Like, just completely unrelatedly, because so many people who like Spider-Man and are writing scripts were like, well, you gotta do the Vulture.
I actually also, this movie felt so much like it was written by a fan of Spider-Man, rather than being written by somebody who is like researching Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, what are Spider-Man's big things? Let's do those, you know? It felt like somebody who was a actual fan of Spider-Man and went like there was also times where it's like, man, this might be a more Spider-Man sort of thing, but it's been done so much, we don't have to do it again.
Yeah. Like, one of the big things that's, no one really noticed this, but the writers love this fact. You never see a classic, like, Spider-Man swinging through the skyscraper shots in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, sometimes he's on top of a big building, sometimes he's, on the ground, but, like, they never did that shot, because it's so, like, obviously the Spider-Man thing.
Also, they didn't do the power and responsibility thing.
No.
Like, they did that in Civil War, got that in, but, didn't have it any at all. They didn't say the name Ben at all in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, they lightly mentioned it once when he's like, don't tell Aunt May, but that's it.
Yeah, and his origin is presumably, it's the comic origin. You don't have to think about it too hard.
Yeah, you really don't need, if you didn't know it at all, it wouldn't really change much.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think they're trying to go more for a, like, he's not doing it because of Uncle Ben or anything. Like, he is doing it because it is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, he is naturally like this, and it wasn't like, it doesn't seem like that was the event that sparked it. It just seems like that also happened.
Because I will say, you can't absolutely sub in the comic book thing, because a big part of the comic book origin is Peter being cocky. It is like, I'm going to go wrestle, or I'm going to do X or Y thing in order to make a bunch of fat stacks, and then Ben has to straighten him out at the very end and say, listen, you have power, you have responsibility. This Peter, I don't think, would have done something like that.
No, I think that's, it's, you can't just slot like that. I mean, when I say the comic origin, I mean specifically just Ben dying.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like, that was not like a catalyst, because that would only be a catalyst if he had that like cockiness to him.
Yeah.
And even then, even after that, he's still kind of cocky, It's just less cocky.
Yeah, it's a different flavor. It is a, like, I want to do something bigger. I can do something more. And I think that does tie into power and responsibility in a way.
Yeah.
Like, he has this power. He is extremely, like, as a hero, like, in terms of just raw stuff he can do, it is pretty wild. So I understand why he would be like, yeah, I just fought the Avengers. I stopped evil Captain America. He doesn't know anything about that, by the way. I do love the multiple mentions in the movie where, like, the public just kind of thinks, oh, I guess Cap went crazy. I guess he's a war criminal.
My favorite fucking scene in the entire movie, I had to pause it for it. My favorite fucking scene is that Halo Burris is going like, yeah, I think he's a war criminal now or whatever, but we gotta still keep showing this. It's so good. Because, like, it is acknowledging, like, from the public's perspective, it's just like, yeah, we all, like, I'm supposed to show you this cat film, but I think he's a war criminal now? I don't really know how that works. It's very real life.
Yeah.
That is so much of our real life.
Like, I think that's also a part of why I like the Sony look at this movie, or like the Sony lens, because it is literally an outsider lens. It is like, these are not our movies. We are outsiders looking in. We have Spider-Man. We know how to do Spider-Man, but like, what has been going on in the MCU?
This feels like the intermediate movie in the MCU. Like, they should have a movie like this between each phase, honestly.
Okay.
They really should. It reminds me of, and also, that fucking song, I said it in my reaction, like, it sounded... what scene was it on? Oh, no. I'm trying to remember what scene it was on. I can't remember. I said it in my reaction. There's one song that sounded exactly like the One Piece soundtrack. Like, it was so orchestral. It was so, like, even the way it ended, it was so, like, fucking almost one-to-one. But, and it was also, like, the whole movie was reminding me of the feeling I get in between an arc of One Piece. In which... everybody, you know, there's the big arcs in One Piece. Everybody loves to talk about them. But then when you're reading it, when you're actually reading it week to week and ever, all the best shit is in between the arcs. You know, talking about the ramifications, talking about what's changing in the world, talking about the perspectives from different people around the world to the events that have happened. And that's what this movie was. You know, the big movies, the Ultrons, the Avengers, they're fun, they're great. But the really good shit is this stuff. Is the stuff where we get to see it from other people's perspectives and see how they're reacting to that. It makes the world feel real and not just like, when we follow only the Avengers, it makes the world feel very hollow, and it's like, what are they even protecting? They don't feel like they care about the world.
I think it really helps that A, this movie is so small scale, and B, that this is not a sequel, and it's also not an origin movie. It is a 1.5 movie almost. Like, it is a, like, Peter's already been set up. You don't have to do that. We're just gonna follow him, and that leaves a bunch of empty space. And they decide to fill that space up with the MCU. Or, like, the MCU, and also, like, you know, being at school, for instance. Like, the other Spider-Man movies have a little school stuff, but there's so much school in this movie.
They have a little school and a lot of drama, whereas this one had a little drama and a lot of school. Right, okay. I wanted to say that at the beginning of the movie, like, recapping everything that's happened in Civil War with Spider-Man in a very fun way. Like, I was very entertaining to watch. It was a great, like, you know, like, cold open without having to do, like, I mean, that wasn't our cold open, but it was a lot of times when you cut from the cold open into, like, the movie with the protagonist and everything, you want to go and do, like, a high action thing. And allowing the high action thing to be, hey, remember Civil War? But it helps a lot. It gets you back in the space and everything, gets you back in Peter's mind, and helps you get back into the character. Also, Civil War's Peter and this Peter are a little bit different. Like, they feel like they're just, like, Peter in Civil War felt a little bit more stiff. You know? And this one feels a lot, you know, more fluid, and I feel like they got that out even in the fight, where they were like, you know, now this is the Spider-Man you weren't seeing during Civil War. And I like that. Because he felt a little bit more comic-y, a little bit more like the comic-y Peter in Civil War.
I mean, that is a, like, putting Spider-Man in Civil War at all was a big ordeal. We kind of talked about that in the Civil War one. So, like, when they did it, it really was just, like, we have this idea for Peter Parker. Okay, let's do it. That's kind of all we can do, though. Like, this is just, we're putting Spider-Man in the movie. Whereas this time around, they had way more time to plan it out and go, like, okay, who is Peter Parker?
And I'm glad they took such a, you know, such a different take with the character. But, you know, as much as you're going to change Peter, I'm glad they did this much.
I also think that the film by Peter Parker is a really good way to prime the audience for, like, knowing that this is going to be a, like, that it is going to focus on the stuff that most MCU movies don't. Like, that is the film that goes, okay, how did Peter get to that fight? It's like, what would have necessarily had to have happened? It is the in-between, which fits in really nicely with what you were saying about this movie showing all the in-betweens.
Yes, I love filling in the gaps. Oh, it's so nice. Now, I know, of course, that Spider-Man dies in Endgame. I have said this many times. It's one of the only spoilers I know. That, and I'm pretty sure like half the cast dies, but I don't like know that.
Right.
That's something that I think, but I don't know. And I also like don't know how they would get the cats back, because I know like there's still, I see so many names of the characters in properties going forward, so I know that like, well, who would they possibly kill off at that point? So, but you know, either way, so I don't know if like, now that I'm thinking about it, Far From Home could just be Miles Morales. Like, you know, I don't know what they're going to do with him in the MCU. Because yeah, I mean, that is usually a thing of Spider-Man nowadays is like let's do Peter, get it over with real quickly so we can get to Miles.
So, let me tell you some stuff that is Miles adjacent in this movie.
Okay. Wait, was Miles in this movie?
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
So, Donald Glover's character is, he has an alias, but his real name, as we see in the, like, Peter's eye look-up thing, is Aaron Davis.
Okay.
Aaron Davis is Miles Morales' uncle.
Okay, so that's his nephew.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the nephew living there in the city.
God damn it, now Miles isn't gonna get his ice cream!
But yeah, like, that's actually a really big deal, because Donald Glover is also the reason why Miles Morales exists.
Really?
So, like when they were casting the Amazing Spider-Man.
I do know that Donald Glover really wanted to play Miles Morales.
Specifically before that, like 10 years before that, when Amazing Spider-Man was happening, and they were outright saying, we're going to reboot Spider-Man, Donald Glover really wanted to play Peter Parker.
Okay. And
though that didn't actually happen, that did make Brian Michael Bendis, big Spider-Man guy, big comic book guy, go like, you know, I'm in a mixed family. I don't see diversity. Like, I don't see people like my kids in the comics.
Yeah. And
the Ultimate Universe is going to kill off Spider-Man. Like, we're doing that as a big thing. But we could still do a Spider-Man. So, what if someone else takes over the mantle? And so, Donald Glover is, like, the direct inspiration for Miles Morales as a character.
That is awesome. Yeah, I mean, like, I know of him. I in my mind, I thought it was Miles, but that must be just me, you know, having filled in the gaps. But
yeah,
I you know, remember him, like, on stand-up specials, you know, long time ago, talking about that shit.
Yeah, and I do know that,
and specifically, you know, just talking about how little black superheroes there are.
Yeah.
And, like, that was specifically why.
Mm-hmm. And, like, it is, I do believe that, I don't know if he's ever played Miles. I feel like he probably did in one of the cartoons or something.
That'd be nice.
Because there have been, like, big outcries of, like, you know, this character was made because Donald Glover was so, like, because he was pushing to be Peter, and because lots of people wanted him to be Peter, so, you know, you could give him the role in the MCU. But at this point, he's too old for that.
And I will say, I don't know shit about Miles Morales. I have avoided everything. The point at which I've stopped in the Spider-Man game is when I got to Miles Morales.
Right.
So, like, I know nothing about him. If Miles is supposed to be a Peter-like, you know, character and personality, then I definitely think that Donald, like, fits that, you know, really well.
Actually, so Aaron, like, his uncle's fake name was Brian Pacelli, which is a reference to Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pacelli, who were the creators of, like, both Miles and Aaron Davis.
Okay.
Also, his car says USM-01, because when they did Miles Morales, they relaunched Ultimate Spider-Man.
Oh, Ultimate Spider-Man, yeah.
Yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man #1.
Oh, that's a nice touch. I do like that. What was Flash's? Oh, it was Flash Drive?
Yeah, his license plate said Flash Drive.
Oh, I misread it. I don't even know what I thought it said.
Also, when he's DJing, that song on the soundtrack is Flash Drive.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I really do like Aaron Davis as a character in this movie as well.
Yeah.
Because he is, like, this average criminal. He is the guy who doesn't want an Ultron arm.
Yeah.
But, like, he is a criminal. He does want something special. Like, the game is changing in New York.
Yeah.
But
you really got it. It is the, like, you know, this movie, my opinions really changed throughout it. Because it's like, well, yeah, I don't want this stuff out in the street. But then by the end of it, I'm like, do I, though? Like, at this point, especially with as much as it is, like, you're gonna need something to fight. If Tony comes to your house, you know, you want something to be able to fight back against that.
And they do establish in the first scene that, like, Chitauri metal, canonically, you can really only destroy it with other Chitauri metal, or presumably, like, you know, vibranium or something.
Yes.
So, I mean, that also really explains why Vulture's
Or, I mean, assume you can cut through it with other stuff. It's just like, you know,
it's
you would
really
need a drill, you would need, like, an actual, you know, you can't just, like, hack away at it.
Yeah, like his crew is very working class. They
Yeah.
don't have those tools.
They're very working class, but they're also very like they have engineering skills and they have
Yeah.
like technical. What am I trying to say? Like wire shit.
Like they did jury rig a bunch of alien stuff to work with a bunch of like human stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and also like they had the one guy, Mason, was like the guy on the computer. Like he knew so much shit about the like I don't know if we have a name for those. Like it is like the bus in Shield, but I don't know if there's a name for it. Just cargo ship or something maybe.
Probably.
But yeah.
So there are 5 big Spider-Man villains in this movie, 4 of which are named in the credits. None of which I think are named in the movie.
Wait, Shocker?
Yeah, okay, Shocker was.
Yeah.
Shocker and Shocker number 2.
Shocker number 2. Was that a thing, by the way? Were they like doing 2 versions of?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Like, there are multiple Shockers.
Yeah.
Shocker, by the way, this is such a deep MCU pull. The thing he was using, like his punchy thing, is Crossbones' punchy thing.
Oh.
It is like altered. Like he did
Yeah.
he did wire it up differently. And that is like the reason why he only has one is because in Civil War, when he Crossbones Rumlow is fighting Cap rips off one of them, throws it to the ground. He has the other one, and then he sets off the suicide bomb.
Yeah, and blows up.
Yeah. So that one that Cap ripped off is the one that they are using in the movie.
Wow.
And like Shocker in the comics is like that, where like he doesn't have electric powers, but he does like the big punches.
Yeah, I know him from various stuff as well.
It's such a good pull because like I don't know if they did the Crossbones things like with that idea in the back of their head, because that's not a Crossbones thing in the comics.
Okay.
So I don't know if they did that, or if the Sony group was like, let's do this really deep pull. That is perfect. We're gonna do that.
That's smart though. Very smart.
Yeah.
So much continuity. This is so good.
Yes.
It's the only one where the more we discuss it, the more good it gets. Most of them, I feel like every time we discuss them, they get worse.
Most of the time, I'm so scared because I'm like, oh no, I gotta say this one, but I know you're gonna like this one. Tiny bit of continuity, by the way.
Yeah.
The principal is Principal Morita. And if you look behind him, you'll see he has a framed picture of Jim Morita from the from Cap's team in World War I.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, is that who that was?
Yeah, that is.
What the hell was the kid wearing the army get up in the class? Any idea what the hell that was about?
That one I actually don't know. I did look that up.
What the fuck that was about?
I don't know.
I was like, is this veterans? Is this memorial? What is this?
See, it's a shame that the Shield isn't canon / is very disowned, because otherwise, like, there was a descendant in Shield of one of Cap's crew.
Yeah.
There's one here. They could eventually come back together.
Oh no, the new Howling Commandos. Well, no, they can't, because that guy's dead.
Oh no! Snap.
Oh, I don't know, can't think of his actor's name. Guilfoyle / the
yes,
teacher.
That is the same character.
It is the same character.
Same character.
How does that work out? Because he was at Culver University, which is in Virginia.
I believe so.
And then he was like was he a student or was he part of the staff?
Probably a student. The only thing we know about him is that Bruce gave him all the pizzas.
but he was at the doors. I don't know if he was like part of the staff or just like.
Yeah, like he was also just kind of working in the lab, so I assume he was a student.
Probably. And then assumingly graduated, then went to become a teacher at this place. Like even in the moment, I'm like, it kind of already fits. Like going from student to teacher. But
yeah, they have said outside of the movie, like, that is canon.
Okay, cool.
It is meant to be the same person.
That's awesome. Wow. It's really cool.
As we're talking about canon, by the way, I will circle back to the villains later, but there is one rough bit of continuity here.
Okay.
Which is that this movie has, like, they say in the movie, this takes place 8 years after the Battle of New York.
Okay.
But this movie takes place in the same, like, general time as Civil War. And in Civil War, General Ross explicitly says it's been 4 years.
Again, that's just been a problem with all of the MCU. Every time they mention a year or time in the MCU, it's off every time. So I'm accepting at this point. They don't know what the fuck they're doing with time.
Yeah, and I do think 8 years makes more sense for the amount of stuff happening.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to let that one pass, just so you know.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, at this point I'm just going to assume every movie is going to just give a different time as to when it happened.
So, Mason, the guy in the suit for the villains, he is known in the comics as the Tinkerer.
Okay.
Or Phineas Mason. And his thing is, like, he makes all the gear for the villains in, not all of the villains, but, like, the villains in New York.
Okay.
Like, he just makes stuff and then other people buy it from him, and that's how he lives.
Okay.
Like, the Vulture doesn't do that as much. So
that's like the two of them coming together, sort of?
Yeah.
That's why he was, like, such a big role in this? I mean, also just because it fits with the mirroring of Peter and Ned.
Yeah, I love how they managed to pull that off.
Yeah.
And, like, the fact that both of them are just, like, very casually nerdy. Yeah. Like, they're not really in it for, like, they like heroism, they like big capers, but at the same time, they don't want to go out in the fields.
Yeah.
At no point was I like, he's gonna put on a super suit to go fight Peter.
Well, right now it's time for me to get my wingsuit. They call me the Penguin.
Oh no!
They got the rights to it.
Oh no! What an insane fault. Though I will say, speaking of Batman, Tom Holland has said that Michael Keaton is really chill to work with, and that he spent most of his time on set with Tom just, like, doing Batman impressions and stuff. Because Tom likes Batman.
Oh, that's so wholesome.
Also, completely irrelevant, but Peter Parker is a big Spider-Man fan, or sorry, he's a big Star Wars fan in this movie, as we see with the Death Star, and he's got, like, some stuff in his room. Tom Holland has not seen the original trilogy, but he really likes the prequels.
I mean, sure, I don't know, I haven't seen any, so I can't say shit.
You don't understand.
Haha, he liked the bad movies.
Happy is so done with everything in this movie.
Happy's always done with everything.
Yeah.
I remember Happy from Iron Man 3, okay? Happy was done with everything then.
You're right. He's done there. I mean, I mostly want to say that, like, what a baller move to be the director of Iron Man 1 and 2 and write yourself in as a character and then be like, oh, by the way, Sony wants you not as a director or anything, just as a guy who is mad at Peter and who mostly is on his cell phone.
Again, it's such a big part of the movie, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure he was very happy to have this role.
And he does create this, like, this big sense of, like, it's hard for Peter to get noticed or to be taken seriously because he reports directly to Happy.
Yeah,
like,
who is the worst.
Who just does not care anymore. And I do think, like, Happy is a bit of a jerk, but at the same time, I think the start of the movie, like, really sells why he's so done with Peter.
Yeah,
like,
it is like the boy who cried wolf sort of thing.
Yeah, in addition to being generally done with everything else, he's especially tired with Peter, and when Ned calls him, he's like, what?
Yeah. Like, I get it. When you see, like, the text messages that he's sending him, I get the just, like, I am not listening to you.
Why is this random chubby Asian teen calling me now?
Hello, Mr. Happy. I'm Spider-Man's associate.
We did hear that, like, in the big move, that they did make a new shield for Cap.
Yeah.
Also, they got Thor's belt.
Yeah, whatever that means.
They've never brought this up in the movies.
I assume it's a new belt that we have not seen yet. That was my guess, because I was like, I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Just Thor have a magic belt that keeps his pants up?
You're gonna be so angry when he's in Ragnarok and he's like, oh no, my belt! My pants keep falling! I can only fight with one arm.
Spider-Man, why? I don't know why that's my Thor voice.
It's a wild Thor voice.
It's my Thor with his pants down voice.
Yeah, I love how disillusioned Happy is. I do think, actually, Tony does, like, I think the movie really sells the idea of really liking Tony at first and then being more disillusioned with him the more you get to know him. Like, that is, I would say that is what happens to Peter.
It is what happens to Peter. It's not what happened with me.
Okay.
I would say it was a bell curve with me. Of, like, of course I hated Tony. Then, actually, Tony is making some good points. Back to, like, okay, you know, he made some good points, but at the end of the day, still a war criminal, still brought a 13-year-old child into a battle.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying disillusion as in you hate him, but in a, like, he stops being this mythical figure. Yeah. He is the kind of person where he can say, you're an Avenger, and you can say, no.
Yeah. I'm glad that he's not, like idolizing him in that way anymore. Yeah. I hope that he's not idolizing him that much anymore.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. One can only hope, but...
most of what I wrote down. Karen is played by by Jennifer Connelly, who was married to Paul Bettany. The joke there, of course, being that Paul Bettany is Vision / Jarvis.
Okay.
So Karen is literally Jarvis's wife.
Haha.
In another dimension.
Funny joke.
Yeah, funny joke.
Funny joke.
But that's basically all the big notes I wanted to say.
Okay. I think let's talk about some scenes, because this
Sure.
is actually one of the first movies where, once again, I want to talk about the scenes as opposed to just being like, all right, we're done.
Okay.
But hold on. First, let me get a break. I gotta get some more tea. Okay, so first off, I guess we should start with the Washington Monument
Sure.
Scene. Really, they did such a good job of making it tense through it's just so tall, it's literally gonna take him a long ass time to climb up it, which is something I haven't seen done for Spider-Man before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, has that been done in one of the other movies?
Not really, no, because a more experienced Spider-Man can zip up more fast.
Yeah, you
Whereas,
just go.
Yeah, I think the movie also makes a very big point multiple times. They don't say it, but they show it, that he can't shoot his web very far.
Yeah.
Whereas classic Spider-Man can shoot his web all the way up to the top of a skyscraper.
Yeah, that was a good 1, 2, 3 in the scenes where they bring it up with Ned, then we see him shoot it and not be able to go through the park.
Yeah.
And then I can't really think of a specific third time, just that at that point we were okay, so it doesn't go that far. We at that point realized he can't do that much with it's more of a close combat thing.
Mm-hmm.
And swinging, it's not like he can do the swinging around the skyscrapers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He can't, from the ground, shoot at the top of a fucking skyscraper, then pull himself up and start swinging like normal Spider-Man does.
Yeah.
Absolutely not possible.
Plus, just the amount of webbing he has in each canister is actually relatively low.
It's an amount that would actually fit in that.
Yeah. Whereas, comic book Spider-Man, if that ship was cut in half and comic book Spider-Man is there, the entire middle is just going to be web.
Yeah.
It's all web.
It's infinite web.
Whereas this Peter had to really ration out where he was going to use the web.
Yeah. And he had to keep reloading, multiple times, which is really fun. That was such a nice touch.
And he's still also working on the formula.
Yeah.
We saw in that lab.
Yeah, making it better and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Which also, helps too. He can, increase without the suit,
Mm-hmm.
He can change in different ways, through technology. But yeah, Tony does not specifically mean, what are you without the suit?
Mm-hmm.
He literally means, I give you this suit, what are you without the suit? Whereas Tony is without my suit, I can make another suit.
Yeah.
You have to be able to do something like that. What can you do without the suit? Well, he can do, strength stuff without the suit.
Yeah.
And that was the big scene, there. But that also means, I can make the web shooters. That is my thing. I can change the formula of the, all that stuff we were doing in school was funny. When we got to the workshop thing where they were just banging on this Chitauri alien thing in the middle of wood class, the teacher's just in the background don't mess around, just mess around. Such a good scene.
They are honestly so lucky that it needs radiation before it can explode.
Yeah, it's just banging it with a hammer. Oh, that's insane. But yeah, the back to the monument scene.
Yes,
that's what we're talking about. When he gets up to the very roof and he goes to the window and it's oh, and I'm what? Immediately, because of everything Spider-Man, I'm he's just gonna climb up. As soon as he gets there, he can just I gotta go in through the window. Let me just bam right through the window.
Yeah.
But it's no, this is Spider-Man at the beginning, and not the Spider-Man at the beginning that's super cocky like you're used to.
Yeah. I think it also helps that, a lot of origin stories have this thing of this is the hero at the start of their journey, so they're not very good, and all the things you want to see them do, they're not going to do them.
Yeah.
Whereas I think this movie hits a much better tone of
he's very hesitant.
Yeah, and you're going to see him do a lot of things still, a lot of really cool things. It's just he's finding his way before he can get to being as cool as you remember him being in the other movies.
Yeah.
Or not even being cool, but just having this sheer strength and the sheer spectacle in some things.
The helicopter scene is dope. It is a really cool scene to watch, but you have to have the work up of the courage to it and everything.
Yeah. And I do think it is also that is a really smart thing. when I saw that scene for the first time, I did think of it as oh no, now there's another enemy. Whereas Peter goes like, this is really scary, but also I can use that. That is what I need.
Yeah, it was like when he jumps over, even as he's jumping over, I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? And then as he starts to curve, it's like, oh, Peter is a genius.
Yeah.
Such a great scene. And yeah, this scene really sold the, like, Spider-Man is not as strong as Captain America.
Yeah.
Which is not something I would have ever thought about because I don't read Captain America comics or anything like that. But, like, in the comics, and from what I know, like, Spider-Man is a very, very strong guy.
Yeah.
He's, like, good God, he's strong.
I would say that, like, the thing Spider-Man is known for at this point in the comics is that, like, body size to strength, he is the strongest.
Yeah.
Like, anyone stronger than Spider-Man is, like, a big, bulky guy with giant muscles.
Yeah. Like, of course, Hulk is stronger than him, but Hulk is also, like, 18 times his size.
Yeah. Anyone the general shape of Spider-Man, like Cap, is going to be weaker than him.
Yeah. And I think that is, the main thing that I know about him. So going into this movie where it's like, he is not that strong at all. Fall damage hurts him quite a bit, actually. I mean, not like just falling, but like, he takes a lot of big falls in this. Or takes a lot of big, especially going after Guardians where they'll fly through 18,000 trees at 5 million miles an hour and be like, haha, what a great journey. And where Peter is, he bangs his head and gets a mild concussion.
Yeah.
And it's such a nice spot.
I also, like, talking about that in particular, I really love the little touches in most scenes where, like, if something is going to come up, you can just barely see, like, when he, right before he jumps up, like, you can see, I don't think you can see Vulture's hand, but you can see one of the crystals go up, and then the thing that lets you go through the top of the truck disappears.
Oh,
you can just barely see it before he, like, gets on the ground, and then when he jumps up, he knocks his head.
Yeah.
Like, it is extremely consistent. There are very few things where you have to say, okay, I guess this must have happened off screen.
Yeah, everything flows very nicely. The fights flow so well. They're doing, it's extremely light, like, camera foo. You know, like, with the making the camera be almost like a character in the fight with the way that it's moving in and out of shots.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of MCU stuff is very, we'll cut from this to that, whereas this camera was way more, we like go in on this, come out, and then show that, and then we can do a cut. Like, show both things, then you can cut, as opposed to just keep cutting between the two.
And as you said in the movie, I do think that the CG being very lightly cartoony really adds to the vibe of it. Yeah. Because, like, it isn't so crusty and realistic that you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, there's this extra layer of, like, when Vulture, like, pushes his wing in front of the camera and then, like, makes it, break all the web.
Yeah. Like,
there's this extra layer of, like, heightened energy where you are like, yeah, that is actually really cool.
Whoever were the animators on Vulture need to get $1 billion increased and raised. Like, that was the best thing I've seen in the MCU in terms of CGI.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of, it was the scariest shit I've seen. It felt so threatening. It could cut through fucking anything.
Yeah.
It was so speedy while staying in focus. I think that's a big thing. Every part of the fight was in focus.
Yeah.
There was never shaky cam. There was never, we're looking at this spot as they go like, ba past it, which the MCU loves to do. MCU loves to do, here's a person and the fight's going to cross past with them. Rather than us following the fight and then a lot of Spider-Man just having to go like, oh, save that, oh, stop that, in the middle of the fight. Rather than in any other MCU, we would be watching that person as Spider-Man saves them from something.
Yeah.
Which is weird considering I just talked about that. I like it from other perspectives, but like, I don't want other perspectives in the middle of a fight.
Yeah.
The MCU loves to do that, and I don't want it. Stop doing it. It's also hard to do believably a lot of times, you know? Like, in terms of, like, time happening.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a very anime thing to do, and I'm not into it,
Yeah.
I don't like the cutting away from the action to show somebody's reaction, and then, how about, if you're going to do that, stick with that, cut to the reaction to have a scene.
Sure.
Never cut to a reaction just to have a reaction.
Okay.
Which is, the MCU does a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I think also, like, a lot of these scenes where Peter's doing stuff with, with the Vulture, like, the crime scenes, like, a lot of those are very sparsely populated.
Yeah.
And I think it really helps that the movie then has, like, the school scenes as this counter. like the movie never feels lonely. There's always like lots of characters all over the place in the movie, or like in the ship. Like all the scenes have characters, but they are rationed in such a way that you can have the scenes where you're just focusing on one or two people, and you're not saying like, well, what is Ned doing here? Like, where's Ned right now?
Yeah, that is excellent. There's so many pockets of characters.
Yeah.
And that is amazing, because I don't think about it very often, but then I'm like, man, they had a lot of screen time. And it's like, they weren't around in the movie that much, but it's like, the pockets work so well that you don't think about, you know, like, oh yeah, we never went back to that or whatever. Like, you know. And I like, a lot of the school stuff is not, like, wrapped up in a traditional way a movie would. And I appreciate that. Because, you know, we still have more movies to do anyway, but also it's like, yeah, it doesn't need to, because there's nothing plot going on. The only plot thing going on was the Liz thing, which did get, you know, fixed up. Whereas, like, most other movies, I feel like, would try and have, like, Flash come to a character, you know, arc in the end.
Right.
And try and have, like, MJ be like, oh, but I actually like you, and we should get together, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, just, you know, it doesn't need, there was no actual plot there. You don't need to do anything with it.
Yeah. I would say that also, that is the confidence of a universe, of being like, we're gonna do another Spider-Man. Like, these characters are gonna chill for a bit. If we want to do Flash and, like, Far From Home or something, we're gonna do that there.
Yeah. I'm so appreciative that this did not have the classic movie end of, we have to show all these characters having it, like the Guardians 1 thing of like, let's just go around and show, remember this guy that had 5 seconds of screen time? Don't worry, he's not racist. Yeah. Anything else you want to, you still have some notes here.
Yeah.
Let's move into for the next scene.
Okay, so
spice it up.
Oh. So, in the background of, like, just the school, you can see a couple pictures of Howard Stark, Abraham Erskine, the guy who gave Cap his powers, and Bruce Banner, as, you know, just, like, famous figures.
Okay.
And they mix them along, like, normal famous figures.
Okay.
Or rather, not the famous figures, but, like, you know, important American figures.
Gotcha. I was gonna say, like, what is...
Because they are all important, like, parts of American history.
Yeah. I'm glad they put Erskine on there.
Yeah.
That's nice.
He's the one that I really single out as, like, yeah, that's actually really cool, because he is unbelievably important.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he is sort of a bit character. Whereas, like, Howard, if I see Howard in anything, I'm not surprised. I'm like, I can't believe they pulled Howard.
I'm also, you know, would not be surprised for them to be like, he wasn't a real American.
True, there is something unspoken and kind of nice about knowing that in the future, like, Erskine is appreciated by, like, if not all Americans, at the very least, like, you know, someone put up that picture.
Yeah, because absolutely Erskine could have 100% been the kind of person where somebody just took credit for it, you know?
Yeah.
It could have been, you know, Ross just being like, that was me, by the way. I did that.
Maybe not Ross.
More like Howard. Howard, I could definitely be like, what do you mean? There was no Erskine. Erskine's my middle name.
Oh no. Oh no.
They call me Howard Erskine Stark.
I mean, he did it with the arc reactor.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if you got this far. You may. I'm certain you did. In Ultimate Spider-Man, like the first run, the, you know, Peter run.
Yeah.
There is a scene where Spidey fights a bunch of criminals wearing Avengers masks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
That may have been, like, right after where you left off.
Maybe.
But yeah, like, the fight in the bank was a direct reference to that specifically.
I did notice that they were all specifically the comic masks.
Yeah.
Which is something that we've never really seen in the movies before at all.
No.
Like, even the figures and everything, it's always the movie figures.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's like the first time we've seen, like, that is the comic, you know, thing.
Yeah.
Even when people wear, like, like an Iron Man backpack or whatever, it is, like, that is definitely movie Iron Man helmets.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting pull. Like, again, that's some of that Sony flavor where I feel like if this was 100% a Marvel Studios thing, it would have been, like, the merch you can buy in stores of the MCU characters.
Yeah. And it is like, it's like birthday party masks as opposed to like, at first I equated it to, like, the president masks, but, like, that would be, like, if you were wearing, you know, probably not Bruce, I guess you would be Bruce Banner's face.
Yeah.
Does the world know that Bruce Banner's the Hulk now?
I believe so.
Yeah. But yeah, so it'd be like Bruce Banner's face, it would be Steve Rogers' face and everything.
Yeah.
Which, right, speaking of Steve Rogers, speaking of Cap, those, like, segments of Cap we kept seeing were amazing. Again, making it feel so real, because that is fully 100% what they would do. I mean, it's the kind of stuff he was doing.
Yeah.
They're just like, let's just do that again. It's the nostalgia. People will love it.
It's the modern day equivalent of that. It is propaganda.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But I mean, like, it is also them specifically, like, they're dressing him up in, like, the old costume, too, and everything. I assume it was not filmed the longest time ago. It seems like it was filmed, not, like, recently, but, you know, it seems like it was filmed not when he was in that costume.
Yeah. No, you're right.
But yes, it really feels like they're trying to be like, it is the, like, it's such a weird, it's like if the US started putting out propaganda now as like a callback to the old propaganda.
Right.
And like, you guys remember the good old propaganda, right? You remember when it was so much more direct.
Okay, this is the final. I can't promise that, actually. But I do feel like the end credits thing with Cap, like the third time we see one of those, I feel like that is maybe the most Sony energy, because it is a, like, you know, in the other MCU movies where you wait to the end and you get a little clip and you're like, well, I didn't really care about that. It is exactly that.
That's such a dig on it, you're right. That was amazing. That end credit was perfect.
Yeah.
As soon as it was like the white, and I was like, okay, what are we doing? And then he comes out and it's like, oh no! So good.
I was really happy seeing you get a little bored as you were going through the credits. It was the perfect mood to be in.
Yeah. It also is perfect because it is Sony. Like, I just watched Guardians 2, which had the best credit. All the credits were interesting. You can watch the credits from start to finish. They're interesting.
Yeah.
You know? This one, it's just like, it goes to black and it's just black and white credits for the rest of it. And you just sit there and you go, okay. And then, okay, this is it. Oh, that's it? Okay. It's usually something that I would have much rather had not seen. You know? I think I would have much rather not seen the end credit scene of Doctor Strange. Okay. I think it would have been better without it. What was the endiest credit of Guardians?
The endiest credit of Guardians was... Oh, no. I don't remember, because there were like 5 of them.
Yeah, there's so many. I can't remember what the indiest was. Was it Teen Groot? Was that the indiest? No. Because, like, it was, like, fading in and out of the credits. Yeah. I remember that one fading in, or fading out. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Whatever.
Maybe it was the Sovereign Queen? No, that was also...
No. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Midtown School of Science and Technology. By the way, that is the full name. They call it Midtown for short, but it is explicitly, like, for science and technology.
Okay. Makes sense.
Which, again, why all the nerdy kids are there.
Yeah.
It was founded in 1962, which is, of course, when Spider-Man first came up. That was Action Comics number 50... Amazing Fantasy Volume 15.
Right.
Yeah. The reason why the school is tiger themed is a reference to a line Mary Jane says in the comics.
Okay.
Like, I'd say her most iconic line is her looking at Peter at school and saying, "Face a tiger, you just hit the jackpot."
In reference to what?
I think she was willing to go on a date with him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that line has come up in so many different ways across the last, like, 60 years.
Okay.
Weirdly.
But okay, let's move into the
hit me with your next scene.
Okay, of course, like, you know, having to, I guess, just the whole Vulture scene. Actually, let's start at the whole Vulture scene. Like, I was not actually expecting him to try and, like, convince Peter there or anything. And, like, I'm actually very glad that we had that, you know, scene.
Yeah.
And of course, he is, like, wrong, but it is, like, he's doing bad. You know, getting this stuff out in the world is, of course, bad. But the question to really ask is it worse than having it be with the government or having it be with, you know, Stark Industries or anything like that?
And I do think, like, he is a working class person. Like, he's pretty upper middle class, but that is because of all of this stuff. Like, it's because he's making so much money on his side. Yeah. But I do think, like, he personally still thinks of himself as, like, a scrapper. Or, you know, like, you know, he's working at the very bottom. At any point, he could lose everything. Yeah. And so I do really like his perspective of, hey, Peter, you are legitimately like me. I know you hear this in every movie. But no, this time, you are like me. Like, we are both...
That is true.
We both came from nothing. We both have this power now.
Yeah, and even if he is upper middle class, it is the, like, it is like you can't blame them for, enjoying a little bit of luxury now that they can finally afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we first see, what is Donald Glover's character's name?
Aaron Davis.
Aaron Davis. Yeah, like when we first see him, he's got on a gold chain. That's like really all we see.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so is this guy like rich and he was just, like an actual villain at robbing people? And then we see his car and stuff and it's like, okay, so no, he,
Yeah.
it is like the, just affording a little bit of luxury for, themselves and everything.
That is something that I relate to really heavily, like not in my life, but in Guyana, where my parents are from. Like, it is a really big deal to have some golds.
Yeah.
And you do usually, like, even if you don't have a lot of money or you live in a bad house, you usually do still have, like, some gold bangles or something. Because it is this, like, it's all you got, but at the same time, like, you gotta have some level of luxury.
Yeah, exactly.
I do really feel that with, people in bad parts of town who do have, like, a gold chain or a nice ring or, like, 2 nice rings.
Yeah.
It is this, like, well, just because I live in, even though my life sucks, it doesn't mean everything has to suck. I can afford this at
It's
least.
like you see a homeless person with a cell phone and that, makes some people upset.
God, I
and
hate
it's
that.
like, a cell phone is really easy to get nowadays. They're really cheap.
It's
House, very extremely expensive.
Yeah, I mean, it's so not even a luxury anymore. Like, it's so much easier to find employment and stuff if you have a phone where people can contact you. Like, it is kind of a necessity.
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely not a luxury. It is fully a necessity.
Yeah, looking down on someone who owns a cell phone and nothing else is the height of being a garbage person.
You might as well just be like, what, you're eating food? I thought you were homeless.
Mm-hmm. You could sell that food.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
But... Yeah, but I mean, I do appreciate the scene direction of, it's a movie. They're making me go, like, it's a superhero movie. Of course, I'm going to be thinking, like, is this guy just a villain? Or is he, actually just struggling to get by or anything, Especially because he was like, I just want a gun. But then it's like, well, he does specifically want a gun. Like, it is like a, he doesn't want to fake it. It is like, well, if something goes wrong, I want to actually be able to threaten them.
Yeah.
Which is a level of like, okay, like mugging somebody is a little more excusable if you didn't actually have any weapon on you or anything. Like, sure, you're still mugging them and everything like that. But like, you gotta fucking, give...
there are layers of bad.
There's layers of bad, of course. And of course, the gun like raised a little bit more, and then him being willing to be like, all right, I'll look at this shit. Also, I know, like, they're trying to like sell their wares and everything like that, but then he immediately pulls out a real gun, and like, if I was that guy, I'd be like, can I just buy that one?
Yeah,
like that's all I want.
Like, I do think you could read that line of him being like, I don't want these weapons in my neighborhood as very hypocritical.
Yeah.
But I think it just barely works as like genuine because he didn't want something that blows you back through time.
Yeah.
Like he did clearly want something like a handgun. And he, like, that makes sense that he would be scared that people have Ultron arms that they can use to blow up people's houses.
Yeah, because that's also like a gun is very rarely would it probably ricochet through like a wall and hit his child or something like that. And probably nobody's going to break into his house to kill his child for some reason.
Yeah.
Whereas one of these things continues to keep accidentally going off and breaking shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's more understandable with that sense. But again, I am more on like the, if somebody's going to have it, everybody's got to have it.
Sure.
Like, that's just where it is. And, you can try and stop it at some points, but clearly we are past the point of being able to stop it. They're going to be on the streets regardless. So at this point, it would be preferable for them to be on the streets, or at least to be purchasable. It's not like people can purchase, this Star gear. So the only way to get it is illegal. And if the government has it, and they're going to call that legal, then fuck you.
Right.
I'm going to legally take it too.
Yeah, like I think the most moral option is if damage control just destroys all the like weird gear they have.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be in their hands. I don't want it to be stolen. I do think the best net benefit is just destroy it.
Yeah, it's something that always come up in S.H.I.E.L.D., and people are always like, what do you want them to do with it? And my answer has always been, the thing that they said they did that was a lie, they should just do. Slingshot it into the sun!
Right,
And like, yeah, it's the alien artifacts are different from alien life. If there's alien life on our planet and something, then it's like, okay, you're not gonna slingshot that into the sun.
Yeah.
Sure. that's a different situation. But, you know, all this Chitauri stuff, slingshot it into the sun. Don't even put it in a volcano, because that's going to probably end up bad. Into the sun.
And, like, I would agree that, like, I mean, obviously don't like the Vulture, but if you're going to keep around, like, the Chitauri energy orbs, and they are safe enough, then, like, scientists should be looking at that. Like, I want that in the hands of people who are going to use that to improve the world.
Yeah, and also, there was a lot of the Vulture gets immediately justified. Not really justified, but, like, more like, it's kind of hard for me to be against this as soon as he opens up the box of all the arc reactors.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do I say I don't want this out in the street? You know, I absolutely, if this got out in the street, even through criminals and that, it's still a way for the public to be able to get now infinite energy.
Yeah.
Which, once that gets in the hands of somebody who can reverse engineer it, the world is going to be an immediately better place.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, the fact that it all gets destroyed in the end is, like, would have been good if it was for not the arc reactors.
Yeah.
And also, like, these Chitauri bombs, or they're not Chitauri bombs, but, like, you know.
Yeah, the power sources.
Yeah, the power sources. They were, like, the only thing that didn't blow up in the plane.
I mean, you need to have, they have to, you know, be irradiated first.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, god damn, these things are, like, that makes it feel like, you know, they're very safe. They are insanely safe. If they can survive a plane crash, I think they're fine. Don't put them near radiation. And they're golden.
Right. It's
so, yeah. And it's also like, so like that does answer, or bring up more stuff, like the Chitauri buses, as I called them, are like creatures that do need to be like, or like the armor or something at least, needed to be like powered via all this stuff, which is really interesting. But yeah, so we were talking about the Vulture scene. Him, you know, breaking all the pillars, having Peter fall. Of course, as soon as it was happening, I was like, oh, okay, I know what this is referencing. Classic thing. Having the water there was nice too.
And I do like that it is less rubble to complement how much weaker the Spider-Man is.
Yeah.
I feel like part of what makes that scene in the comics so big is, you know, that he's like lifting half a building off himself.
I would have not included the scene with the big rectangle piece. That looked so lightweight. It was so dumb looking. If they did not have that part, it would have been a perfect scene.
Yeah, it is something where I think they could have cut away to just, like, you know, the rubble falls away from the camera and he's there and he looks real, you know, he looks super beat up.
Equally, the plane crashes. Starts going, then starts cartwheeling, and it hard cuts from it cartwheeling to it just going, and, you know, stopping, and it's like, what the fuck was that shot?
Yeah, it's a weird choice.
That had to be a mistake. Somebody had to have like blinked at that while they were watching quality control and be like, yeah, it's great.
I mean, might be the classic, we rendered both of these, which one do you want to use? Yes.
Oh, it's so weird. It's not like a CGI promise. It's just the weirdest cut choice I've ever seen. Just violently cartwheeling to immediate stop. But,
by the way, before we move on from the Vulture, I do want to say I just really like the Vulture's suit. Like, not just the wings. The wings are extremely cool.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But also just like how he's wearing, like, you know, this very like super Arctic weather outfits.
Yeah.
He's got like the big fluff thing that is both like on actual parkas and it's also supposed to be like, you know, the fluff on a vulture's neck.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's a really good like low rent cosplay, but not even low rent. It is very high rent. It is, but it's high rent, but it also feels like something someone like him could afford, or, you know, he could scavenge together.
Yeah. I also, speaking of Vulture, I don't know what his plan was for the guy that was leaving, where he was going to just use high gravity on him to make him stop leaving, so that he could say, please don't tell people.
See, I thought it was going to be like with Spider-Man when the robbers were like, you know, slapping, like, not smacking him up and down, but, you know, it's like pin him to the ground or pin him to the ceiling.
But yeah, I mean, like, what was his plan? Like, you know, no, don't leave until you promise not to tell anybody.
Yeah.
Pinky promise me. Like, I don't know what his plan was there, but
it was probably better overall that he disintegrated Shocker number 1.
yeah, doesn't seem like he was that great of a guy.
Nah.
If he was willing to be like, what, I'm fired, I'm gonna kill your whole goddamn family. Like, yeah, you should probably die.
Yeah.
You should probably die.
Also, that I do love the tiny like characterization where like when they're doing the big heist, they hint at it, and then they're like, "Hey, Shocker 2, you want in? Like, you still want to leave?" And he doesn't want to leave. Yeah. So clearly, he thinks this is really dope. And like, he's not part of the heist. He is going to just like chill outside of Peter's school and punch him in the face.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I guess he would have been a part of the heist if.
Yeah. I guess presumably, like, he would have been where they were landing the plane or something, maybe?
Yeah, or, like, if Peter decides to actually stay at the prom, then you can help. But yeah, I guess I don't know what he would have been a part of.
Well, to be fair, the whole prom thing was this, like, it wasn't in their plans. So it might have been, like, he was supposed to be where the plane was, and then Toombs goes, "Hey, there's a problem. Can you hang outside my daughter's prom?"
Yeah.
And punch her boyfriend in the face.
Such a amazing plan with the plane, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about the vulture twist, like, the dad twist. That was such a great twist, too.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming at all. I kept being like, man, they're really letting us know what's going on between the Avengers Towers. Like, it was the only thing in the movie, or because everything is so tied together, it felt so natural. But even then, I kept being like, man, they're really talking about moving day so much. Like, specifically calling it moving day. But that was so cathartic coming together.
Yeah.
At the end. And seeing their plan too of like it was we want to get one box. That is our absolute. Mm-hmm. But if possible, we would definitely like to just bring the whole damn plane.
Yeah.
But their main goal was just one box.
Yeah.
And I think that was really, really cool. They had lower expectations. They weren't trying to it was a big score, but they realized one box is a huge score for them.
Yeah, it makes them feel realistic, and it really sells why Vulture would be taking this box when his entire suit is failing.
Yeah.
Because it is this they only need one box. Whereas if they hadn't specifically said that, I would have assumed, okay, they need the whole plane, and then why is he even bothering with this one box?
Yeah. Also, again, with just MCU comedy that only works in the MCU with Ultron's head falling out.
Yeah.
And then just being oh, that seems dangerous. It's the kind of joke that really only works because of that.
There's I'm not saying this has any meaning to it, but there is a visual parallel with Peter going through the boxes and finding Ultron's head, and then Adrian going through the boxes on the plane and finding the Iron Man faceplate, then tossing it aside.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it means anything, but there's something there.
There's something there. But yeah, I think it was going back to Peter lifting up the rubble and everything like that. Well done, in such a short amount of time and everything. I know in the comics it's a whole issue and everything. Mm-hmm. It's definitely something you would want to spend a lot of time with, but this is something where they couldn't wait to do it in another movie where they could give it more time.
Right.
And they did it so well with the short amount of time they had.
Also, I don't think that scene would have worked in the with this Spider-Man, because it is a scene of Peter going should I just die here? Should I give up? And then he he goes through his life and all his failures, and then he goes, well, I can't. There are people out there that need me. I'm getting up. Spider-Man's getting up. I'm gonna do this.
Okay, I thought it was more a trying and failing and trying and failing.
No, I'd say it's a he tries a little bit, fails, realizes this ain't gonna work, goes through the issue. Okay. I think he does try a little bit, but there's no progress at all until the end where he really pushes it.
Okay.
I do think this one fits Tom Holland's Spider-Man more, where it is just a
crying out for help was hard to watch.
That's also something you can't do with any other hero, because you can only do it with someone who you've established as being a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
It really sells that this is a child. This child's about to die.
Yeah, his first instinct is immediately to call out for help.
Yeah.
He doesn't even try getting out of it first.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. Really good scene.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the whole fight with the Vulture at the end, again, it's such a good fight because it's not a traditional fight,
mm-hmm.
Or they're I'm gonna fight you and you're gonna fight me and we're gonna keep fighting till one of us is dead. It's just I'm trying to do this and you keep trying to stop me.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole fight is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what most of the fights are. Peter trying to do something and the Vulture coming in and stopping him,
mm-hmm.
or the Vulture trying to do something and Peter coming in and stopping him.
Yeah.
Like, and those two work so well as, having this be a very personal connection with them without them really talking much at all, with them not, like, really knowing who each other are until the very end of the movie, really.
Yeah.
And so, it just, it's sold it so well as a personal connection, despite it not really being one.
I think it also, like, it's really interesting that Adrian is the kind of person who wouldn't kill a kid. Like, in all the fights, he clearly wants to get rid of Spider-Man, but he's not, like, actively trying to murder him. Like, he gets him in his hand so many times, but he doesn't, like, snap his neck. He just wants him to be down. He wants him to stay down.
I mean, he does throw him in the lake with the, parachute on him and stuff. And
True.
But yeah, at the end there is definitely when he doesn't kill them.
Yeah.
But, like, that felt a little bit weird to me.
Okay.
I never felt like he wouldn't have killed him.
Okay.
Like, even in, the car, it felt like he was going to, kill him if he said, like, I'm going to keep doing this. I mean, he was threatening to kill his whole family.
Yeah.
I mean, his family is one person, but I don't think he knows that.
He didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean...
That was the only thing I was like, that might have been him trying to intimidate him.
Yeah, like, I think there's a difference between saying you'll kill someone in their whole family and then, like, actively showing that you have the capability to do it.
Because... actually, what I'm talking about, like, that's literally what the end scene was.
Yeah.
He had the chance to do that and didn't do that.
Yeah.
Like, it was an empty threat.
Mm-hmm. I think that final scene also, first of all, this is an MCU movie where the main villain does not die.
Oh, yeah! It's one of the first, aside from Loki, we'll finally get another one.
Yeah, and it is also one where the villain, like, the hero actively could let the villain just die. Like, the classic Batman Begins, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you.
Yeah.
But Peter goes out of his way into the fire, into the wreckage that is exploding, and he's like, no, I'm going to get you out.
Yeah.
Even though you could ruin my entire life.
That actually got me, too, because, like, I thought it's such a classic Peter for him to go in there to save him and everything, but I thought it was, because of, like, the panned-out shot and everything, the way he's carrying the body, I thought it was, like, I couldn't do anything, he died, and I wasn't able to stop them.
Yeah.
But, no, like, it actually got me, like, oh, damn, okay, he actually was able to save him.
Yeah.
And then it is like that, you saved my daughter, and you saved me.
Mm-hmm. And, Spider-Man is such a, like, tries hard not to kill sort of person. Yeah. It's not that he has a 100% no-kill rule, but it's like a 99% no-kill. Yeah. And it is a very, like, he just morally doesn't want to. I think it was really cool that in the MCU, he doesn't. And it also makes it, again, feel real messed up that Tony gave him an instant kill mode. Like, that's a real... You don't know who this kid is. Like, you have no idea what he's like.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Tony. But
at the same time, I get it. I know, like, we have the line where he's like, oh, I'm sounding like my father now.
Yeah.
If Tony has a real kid, he's also giving that kid an instant kill mode.
Yep. For sure. Here's your instant kill rattle.
Does the name Mac Gargan ring any bells as a character?
No.
So that is who Michael Mando is playing.
Who?
Nacho from Breaking Bad.
Right.
Better Call Saul.
I'm not sure if I've ever heard his actual actor's name.
Yeah.
But, okay.
But yeah, he's a villain in the comics.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I want to bring that up because,
why would I recognize that?
I mean, he's pretty famous.
Okay.
So, like, it's enough where it's like, you might know the name Mac Gargan.
No, never heard of it.
They do say, like, the last job they were doing before the airplane was the Gargan job.
Okay.
Which was, like, they were, like, making something for him, and they were like, well, we can make that, but after that, we don't have anything else.
Right. Well, okay.
Yeah.
That's what you meant.
Yeah. So that, plus the fact that we got in the after credits, like, they're clearly setting him up.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to bring that up in case you were like, this is just a cameo, I guess.
I mean, that's exactly what it felt like, to be fair.
I mean, it is also a cameo.
It did not feel like they were setting it up very much, but yeah, now that I know that, that's good to know going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I appreciate that they had a lot of bigger named, diverse actors,
Yeah.
as opposed to, like, I'm used to, that's some old famous white dude, like Michael Keaton,
Yeah.
where it's like, I mean, that wasn't the case, but, like, I'm used to, like, I recognize this face, or, like, I recognize the voice, but, like, I don't know, there's some fucking 80-year-old white dude who's been acting for a billion years that is in a ton of movies, and I only watch TV shows, so I've never seen them.
Yeah. I also do appreciate that. I'm not going to go through them. It's good. That would just suck. But almost all the kids in Peter's class are like comic book references to like other people in Peter's class and stuff. Like they all have names. They were all like the actors were all told specifically like this is a character you are playing, not just like you are a random kid in class.
Is there like does Gwen have white hair?
Gwen has blonde hair.
Okay.
Or actually, I think some Gwens have white hair actually.
I don't know. The only thing I know about it is the white suit. Gwen Spider-Man, the
Right.
white suit thing. So I saw somebody back with white hair, and I was like, maybe that was reference to that. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I mean, if she doesn't have white hair, then I doubt it. But yeah, there was also I really appreciate that too. It felt again very natural with having plenty of people in the background who have like different colored hair, like dyed hair, like white hair, blue hair, and green hair and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Tons of shows miss that. You walk around fucking anywhere and you're going to see that. Like,
yeah.
And especially also in a universe like this where so many people are weird for no real reason. Like there's a little underlaying like some people just look weird. Like Tony's beard has always been very like nobody ever talks about it, but he does have an extremely stylized beard.
Yeah.
Where I feel like in a normal world, people, when they would gossip about Tony Stark, would constantly talk about his beard and how, interesting it looks.
Did you notice that Happy's beard looks more like Tony's in this movie?
I didn't.
It does. It's not one-to-one.
I see it. No,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, what are the big scene, it's like worth talking about, do you think? Expanding upon.
This isn't the scene, but I'm curious, like, how do you feel about Aunt May, if at all?
The most uninteresting part of the movie.
Okay, that's fair.
The only part of the movie where I was like, oof, this is not funny or, interesting writing was the dinner scene. It felt so forced. I was just like, oof, man, this is cringy.
And also, yeah. Felt a little forced. Felt a little weird too that they had the waiter hit on her.
That was so weird for no reason. It was just like, she's hot. Did you forget that we say she's hot?
I think we had enough of that with the Tony being creepy and being like, "Hey, Aunt May, sure hope you're wearing something sexy."
Yeah, thank fucking God they did a retake.
I mean, Peter left it in the movie though.
He did, but I don't think he's gonna show anybody that. I mean, maybe.
I sure hope he doesn't show that to Aunt May.
Well, also, when it first started and came out with a Peter film, up until, like, as soon as I saw the actual, like, aspect ratio, I was like, oh, okay, I know what we're doing. But at first I was like, are they about to do a thing where this is, like, Peter's going to narrate the movie? I was like, that would be a Spider-Man sort of thing to do.
Yeah.
Where he's just, like, narrates and talks to himself all the time. So that was my immediate thought of, like, is this, like, a... literally from Spider-Man, like he's also like he sets up the camera and takes a picture of Spider-Man sort of thing. That's immediately where my mind went. I'm like, is this Spider-Man filming the whole movie? And then we get that, but I was like, okay. Once we saw the aspect ratio, I was like, this is not the whole movie. Like this is a quick bit we're doing.
And I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Like in a very different movie.
Yeah, like a Cloverfield style Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Would be so interesting.
Yeah.
You just pay for only the voiceover. You don't have to pay the actor.
I absolutely adore the scene, like when we get the flashes of him just doing stuff in New York, and he's just standing on the building, and the dude's like, "Hey, Spider-Man, do a flip!"
Yes, I love that.
And he does the flip.
That is what I loved the most about the games. Like the fighting's fun, the swinging around the building's fun, and but the most fun is just walking around New York and people just wanting to have a selfie with Spider-Man, or wanting to high five and all this shit. It's so engaging. It feels so real.
And it is something I think of as, like, there's a lot of heroes in New York, but I do think of people just randomly in the crowd having, like, a scene with Spider-Man as a very Spider-Man thing.
Yeah. Because
he's so in his head. And so I think a lot of writers like to balance that out with, like, we're not going to do anything with any major characters because they all hate Peter right now in this arc. So he's got to talk to someone. So here's this dude selling a hot dog.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And also it sells the, like, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man very well, as opposed to the when Iron Man shows up somewhere, it is the "God, fuck this guy, I hate you, you son of a bitch, I'm gonna throw a rock at your head." Or in this where they just go like, "Oh, Iron Man," or after the event is over, they go, "Okay, I do like Iron Man." But in this, we don't have a lot of it because he's so new.
Yeah.
But when I think of Spider-Man, a normal hero is "It's Iron Man," whereas Spider-Man is "Hey, Spider-Man."
Yeah.
That is the difference between them.
Mm-hmm.
It is your friendly Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I actually do like that they had the scene of him, even on a local level, he's not great yet.
No.
He wiped up a guy trying to get into his own car for no reason. It's
Yeah.
like, what reason did you think that he was trying to steal that car?
Yeah, my God, I love how many different ways they show him being so new and so fresh to the job.
Yeah. Also, that Stan Lee cameo was the best one so far.
Yeah.
Well, no, I said that. No, the Guardians one still gotta be the best one, obviously. But aside from that one,
Sure.
one of the best of normal Stan Lee cameos.
Yeah.
Wait, actually, do you remember off the top of your head where did he cameo in Guardians 1?
In Guardians 1, I actually don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll check again, but can't think of it off the top of my head.
He was probably nowhere.
Probably.
Yeah.
Was he in a scene with Howard? No. That was in the Guardians 2 with Howard the Duck at the diner.
Yeah. Guardians 1 was the Collector and Howard.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, anything else you want to expand on?
I do want to just, as a cap to that previous talk,
right.
that, I think a fully realized Peter, fully, comfortable Peter, also would not be, he would not be as Peter Parker going to Del Mar's to get a sub. He would go in as Spider-Man and buy the sub.
Yes. Now that you say that, 100%.
Which I think also ties into Vulture's whole, you want to keep everything separate. I do think that Peter is still not 100% separate because he's still rough around the edges.
Yeah.
Whereas, comic Peter is more of a, when I'm Spider-Man, I'm going to do everything as a Spider-Man. Because that's just, it's just easier if it's 100%. If I, I spill someone's, coffee on their thing, and then I go to the supermarket, I go to the, washing place, and I put it in there, and I pay for it as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's just easier. Whereas Peter does more now I'm in Spider-Man mode, now I'm in Peter mode.
Yeah. I appreciate the difference between that.
Mm-hmm.
Glad they are making such a distinction and changing it. I always appreciate that in any adaptation.
Yeah.
You always have the original, so give me something a little bit different.
Yeah. That is, I think, my favorite part about this Peter compared to the other movie ones and the other just, fiction ones.
Yeah.
Is
Everywhere.
that they somehow managed to be in love with Spider-Man. It's clear that everyone working on the movie loves Spider-Man, and yet they didn't do a we love him, so here's all the things we really want to do that everything else is also done. We gotta check the check boxes.
Yeah.
They made a different Spider-Man that is still a love letter to the character.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, they didn't have the when you say that now, they didn't have the same from the city scene. It's they didn't have that, but they did have the we're gonna play the song as Spider-Man does Spider-Man stuff at the beginning.
Yeah.
Which almost all forms of Spider-Man with any amount of audio have that.
Oh yeah.
And so it's really interesting that they did that, but didn't do something it is just him doing normal Spider-Man stuff, helping him cross the street and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Normal Spider-Man shit.
Normal.
But yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, fantastic song choice.
Yeah. Also, this might be one of the only ones I can think of. Well, one of the only movies where we get an extended scene of Spider-Man running through a field.
Yeah. Oh, that was so great. I was because again, Spider-Man game actually does that too.
Yeah.
They're really good about if you're not around buildings, you can't web sling. It has to be able to in game attach to something.
Mm-hmm.
So being seeing him have to run through the park is so fun.
That felt the most this is for the video game audience, because he also shoots his web into the air even though there is nothing there, because he's instinctively just I'm just gonna, oh no, I can't.
Yeah, that felt more of a nod to the Spider-Man PS1 was it PS1 or PS2? I actually don't remember.
I think PS2.
PS2 games where, you shoot it into literally the sky. Like, you are above all the skyscrapers, and your web is going into the clouds.
Oh, no, that's PS1.
Okay.
Yeah, PS2 actually had programming to try and stick it to buildings.
Okay.
But PS1 was just straight up, you are just sticking it to something.
Yeah, you are above the skyscrapers swinging around. Which, I appreciate, again, you can't do that in the games. You can't be swinging above the skyscrapers unless you're getting, like, an arc to go above them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, really, really appreciate that they, made his, like, the web was not like this, it can do anything thing.
Yeah.
Again, big problem I have with magic and stuff, so I hated Doctor Strange. Just felt like they could do fucking whatever the fuck they want and whenever the fuck they want to do it. Whereas this is so much more, I know the capabilities going into the fights. I know that, like, every time he uses the web, I'm thinking, how much is this going to hold before it snaps? Whereas I'm not thinking about that in most other Spider-Man stuff ever.
Yeah, I do think it was absolutely genius, especially for the web grenades. I think a lot of, like, casual fans have problems with web grenades. It's just well, how is he doing that? So just showing it, and then also you can write off as the suit's doing it. You don't need to know how. It's not like he's twisting his hand like this and making a grenade.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It looks like it's already a ball that he shoots out.
Yeah, same with, like, rapid fire mode.
Yeah. Like, it does just seem like, the little spray nozzle thing changes. Like, I imagine that might just be, it coats it in something as it comes out. Sorry, when it hits, it pops and then explodes. Don't know. But, really, really appreciate that. I mean, also, again, the games also have the, like, you can only use a certain amount of web and everything, or you have to reload and shit like that. So, it is, making Spider-Man more video gamey really helps, because it makes him it makes it stressful. It makes it, you're able to go like, oh, shit, you're wasting up, the web. I can imagine in future movies, it's going to be like situations where, what if he's holding two things and he runs out of web? You can't, like, reload while you're holding two things and shit like that. It creates so many complications to it.
It's wild to think that, like, even though his heads-up display is very much like Iron Man's, Iron Man feels less video gamey because his abilities are so much more, like, ambiguous as to what he can do.
Iron Man can do anything at any time. He can have 10% of the suit left and he can just still blast somebody's face off. So knowing, like, he can't do this right now. He can't do that right now. He's wearing this suit, which cannot do this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which Iron Man really does not have that. It's just more of like he's wearing this suit, so it's not as strong as that suit, know? Whereas it's not like, oh, this suit doesn't have this very specific thing.
Yeah.
Spider-Man feels like he has a lot of gadgets, that he can run out of.
Yeah. I think also, like, not having a good relationship with Tony really helps with that, because then, like, when he uses his one parachute, that's it. He can't make another parachute because he doesn't know how that works in the suit.
Yeah. And that was such a good, like, continuous thing throughout the movie of, like, the heights and making heights really scary for Spider-Man again.
Yeah.
Make heights scary for Spider-Man again.
I was watching a compilation of a bunch of Spider-Man games, and around, like, after Spider-Man 3, I don't remember which one it is specifically, but there was a point where the game devs have just, completely said, you know what? Spider-Man doesn't take fall damage.
Yeah.
Like, before that point, it is all, like, people jumping from the highest thing, and then they splat, and then Spider-Man dies. And then after that point, people were like, well, no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine for Spider-Man as, like, a game thing, as a just, like, as a blanket. You know what? If you're always scared you're gonna die here, then you're not gonna try and swing to the maximum. You're not gonna try to do a big ol' thingy.
Conversely, I disagree.
Okay.
I think it's so much funner, with the, like, I don't like in the game when I'm trying to, like, get a maximum velocity swing, and then it's like, oh, I miss it, and I just land on the ground. I'm like, oh, I mean, there's no real consequences for it. Then I just continue on.
Okay, I mean, I can see that too.
Like, yeah. I want to be able to feel, like, the consequence of, like, even if it's not, like, that he dies, but, like, if, like, you hit the ground and you always just took, like, a stumble thing or something.
Sure.
I think that would be better than just, like, you land, and it's fine.
Okay, you convinced me.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it would also have to be a, like, when you hit with velocity, or, like, if you hit after a certain amount of falling.
Yeah. And, it doesn't have to be it takes away your health or anything like that. Like, it could just be a, like, you do a stumble, you do a, make it feel like it actually was a, consequence. Because
then you could also actually have stuff like, like a web parachute or something where you can try to stop yourself or try to, like, cling on building real quick before you die.
Yeah. And it's also, like, you can do the thing in the game where you dive down. So, like, it's so weird imagining that Spider-Man would just jump off a building, dive head first, and then right before he hits, just go, whoop, and now I'm just going to walk along and be fine. It's like, if I saw that in a movie, I would be like, what the fuck was that? You know, if he's doing something like that, it should be like the video game, you know, Spider-Man, save me! Just fall on the ground, fall in the fire, die.
Oh boy. That'd feel real weird if he was on the Washington Monuments and he falls down and then he just rotates.
Alright, any other scenes you want me to expand upon? Or any other characters or anything?
I feel like we've touched on just about everything.
I think so. If there's any questions you guys got in the comments, let me know.
Yeah. I feel like this has been longer than our usual discussions.
Yeah. I think so. It's our discussions have gotten shorter now that we've done less arguing for 30 minutes about a reference that I don't understand. I've now gone okay, I don't get why the Star Wars films are this, why that's funny. I'm gonna move on.
You're right. I've given up on saying the Death Star represents Peter. The Death Star is a mirror of Peter.
He has the one weak point. But yeah, I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
I want to ask, when I am finished Far From Home, I might do some reactions to Spider-Man comics.
Ooh.
So, main thing is like Miles Morales, of course, I know absolutely nothing about. I've been saving off, so at some point I might go to read the comics or something.
Before you do any comics, you gotta do Into the Spider-Verse, like the movie.
Sure, yeah. Right. I will do that also. So, after Far From Home, after Into the Spider-Verse, I will do, maybe some comic stuff.
Okay.
Also, they're going to do some other, movies later down the line. Like, I'm probably going to rewatch the original Raimi trilogy, and then I'll do the, I don't know.
Amazing movies?
Sure. Yeah. I don't know.
Andrew Garfield's
Spider-Man. Yeah, I'll do other stuff like that later. I mean, of course, after the movies, I'm still doing MCU stuff. I'm still doing all the TV shows. But,
Also, we don't know if Venom is canon or not yet, so maybe.
But yeah, Into the Spider-Verse I will definitely do, probably, once I'm caught up in all the MCU movies, before I go back to the MCU TV shows, I'll probably also just do Spider-Verse. Might as fucking well. But then after that point, I'll just do the movies randomly until, the MCU is finished. There's not going to be any slots for it or anything like that. I'll just, when I have time, might throw out one of those movies.
Okay.
That's the thing. But yeah, if you have any specific comic suggestions for Spider-Man where it would be something quick I would be able to do a reaction to that is, self-contained enough. Hopefully I will have you there to maybe even do some research before I get into it to give me a little bit of a here's the base what you need to know before getting into something. But yeah, I think that would be fun to do. I know so little about any of that stuff. It'd be fun to do some whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm just saying,
Yeah, it's an interesting concept.
Recommend me some shit. And it'll be a bit, but still, it's good to have the backlog ready.
So actually, I forgot to do the question I always ask.
There we go.
What not what will happen in Infinity War or anything, but just what do you think we're doing with Spider-Man after this?
I mean, I kind of already answered that question. So to go over it really quickly, he's going to be called in for Infinity War and Endgame, which I'm pretty sure what's between those?
Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel,
which both do not take place between them. I know that. So he's going to be called in for Infinity War. Endgame is next day. Alarm goes off. Wakes up. Time for Endgame. The clock says Endgame time.
Oh no!
He dies.
Oh no!
Either comes back to life, Far From Home, or Miles Morales is Far From Home.
Okay.
I guess I'm going to stick with comes back to life because I'm pretty sure half the cast dies, and I feel like they have to come back to life. So I'm gonna guess that he also does come back to life. It'd be weird if everybody's coming back to life except for Peter. He came back, but he is Miles Morales now.
Oh no!
We're not sure how that happened.
Oh no, that is the most cursed option.
For some reason now Peter is Aaron Davis's nephew.
Oh no!
They swap places.
I sure want some ice cream.
They Freaky Friday'd. It is Miles Morales in Peter's body.
Oh no!
I don't know what. It's a weird scenario I'm coming up with. So, Far From Home, final guess is Peter come back to life somehow in Far From Home, and then that plot is following up with Michael Mondo. No, that's not his name. Mac Gargan. And maybe the Vulture helping Spider-Man?
Ooh, maybe.
That's my guess.
Okay, sounds good. Next is Thor Ragnarok,
which I've already given my guess for. Once again, to say it again really quickly, Loki got found out somehow, banished Thor and Odin to Earth. Well, Thor's already on Earth, so banished Odin to Earth. Now Thor's like daddy on Earth, gotta find him. Also, Loki bad.
Okay.
They stop Loki. Loki says, but you'll never stop Thanos! And then dies.
Oh, no.
Now, I don't think Loki's gonna die either. I think Loki's gonna become an Avenger.
Oh, no!
Not an official Avenger, in the same way that Spider-Man is an Avenger. I think he was going to become a person who fights in Infinity War and Endgame.
Okay.
I feel like that's what I should start saying from now on.
Sure.
I realize that Avenger means nothing anymore.
Or rather, Avenger is relatively specific.
Yeah. So, what I mean is, I feel like Loki is going to fight in Infinity War and Endgame on the side of against Thanos.
Okay.
Not on the side of them, but on the side of against Thanos.
Okay, fair.
That is my guess. Yes, that's my guess. We'll see you guys for Thor Ragnarok. Until then, get the fuck out of here.